Hello. Welcome to the arcade. I'm Sleepless Night. I'm not playing anything today. Because, whoa, look, hey, look at that. We got Pilot in, we got HJ, we got Dwight. How you doing, boys? How are you all? Oh, no, look, my chat window doesn't work. Wonder why that is. I haven't checked it for like a really long time because I basically don't use it. Because I never have this window on, I guess. Does it work at all? Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, it does. It's just supposed to... Wait, is the layer order there? Well, that's really weird, though. They're weird. Layer order was just weird. Matthew. You know, whenever I call him that, he goes really quiet. So I stopped. Oh, yeah, the chat windows. That's really weird. That should be, like, semi-transparent. See, this is the thing. I don't ever use this one. I have it on here on the stream deck, but I don't ever use this chatting window. You should always check your widgets. Yeah, I know, right? There we go. It makes me think I'm in trouble. What, when you mean... Whoa. Well, you know, see, the other thing is... Oh, can you just hold still? Why is it only adjusting... Fucking stupid. There we go. That'll do. That'll do it. That'll do it. Hey, Connor's here. Kitters is here. Weevil's here. Welcome, one and all. Why is that not working? Let's test if it is working. It's working. It's cool. The gang's all here. The OGs. So, oh my God, it's giving you rankings for like how much of a, wow, that is so weird. That's a new thing. I've never seen that. Of course, you can't see that on the regular chat thing on the wherever it looks like it is to you there. We get ranked now? What the feck? What? That's just weird. I'm the best. They say number one. He is number one. Bless him. Even if I call him sperm face and whatever. No, Weevil. SK's ranking us. I have no idea. So I saw that who was in? Dwight was in. When I turned on, I saw that Dwight was in the thing, and there was that thing, and I was like, what is that? So I had to click on it to see what it was. I had to click on the little symbol because I don't know. I've never seen that before. It's really weird. So I was going to play Badlands Crew today. I'm glad that, I mean, I don't know how long they're going to be with us, but I'm glad that Matt and HJ are in the chat. Just because they'll, their names will crop up today, as will Richard's. So I was going to play Badlands Crew, and then as I was prepping everything, because I've had so much on my mind recently. I mean, there always is. It does seem like I've got an empty brain, but no, there's always quite a lot going on in there. And I was thinking about Badlands Crew, and I just thought, I just don't really want to. I don't want to play that game. And then I thought, okay, well, what game do I want to play? And I thought, no, you know what? I just want to. I'm not going to keep typing things. I just want to make my messages useless at this point in order to get my rank up. Oh, I see. Oh, no. What has happened? So, yeah, I thought maybe we'll watch some trailers. Look, I've got some queued up. I've got a whole playlist of trailers that we can have a look at in a little bit. But I kind of really wanted to... I wanted to give you guys a chance to sort of give me some feedback about the channel. YouTube made it competitive. Oh no. Oh dear. Yeah, see, this will come up later. I was thinking this about HJ the other day as well. You know, when I was digging through the footage that I captured of me and HJ playing Peak the other week. But yeah, so what happened this week is that last week, I guess last Monday, I uploaded my Jump Ship preview video, right? Now, you all know that I have lots and lots and lots of different content on this channel, and I do guides. I've done a couple of interviews. I used to do a lot of Let's Plays in the early days. You know, I look at trailers, I do previews and reviews and like, 3 things you might not know about, or, I do live stream. So I've done all sorts of stuff. And that has become an issue for the channel, but it's not one that I'm super concerned about. I'll explain in more detail, but usually when I upload a game preview or a review, that has consistently for years, for like, how long has it been now? For 7 years, since the arcade started. Consistently for all those years, the videos that I make that consistently perform way better than any other content are those videos. There's already kind of a, I can already kind of guess when I'm going to upload something. I can usually guess relatively accurately roughly how many views I can expect over a period of time from those videos, and I just put them up there when I have something to say about a game. The ultimate reviews, as I'm sure you know, have always been they outperform all my videos by miles. But just below those are sort of regular reviews and previews, and they usually get anywhere between, I don't know, 2,000 to sort of 30,000 views, depending on the game. I guess there is some sort of middle ground with other stuff. A couple of the guide videos, like my How to Win the Talmberg horse race, is probably my best evergreen video. It's like it just keeps bringing people in. But last week, when I put up the Jump Ship preview video, like, actually, it underperformed even by the standards of my regular rubbish Let's Plays. Let's Plays, when I make a Let's Play, they almost never get any views. The first one does. You'll see other YouTubers will say this. Let's Plays kind of consistently have a downslope. And they trail off. With each episode, fewer and fewer people watch. And, for me, it's in the hundreds, maybe 200 people, 300, maybe. Over time, depending on the game, it can go up into thousands, but that's unusual. But I just kind of used to do those because I love doing them. But reviews and previews and things like that, they never perform that poorly. Even in a really short space of time, they've got usually thousands of views. But that one just died. Like, it died a death. And that kind of brought me to sort of thinking more about the channel and stuff like that, and things that I kind of don't really talk to you guys about. Or that I do talk to you guys about, but I put long-winded messages in the Discord, or I hurriedly sort of talk about them at the end of my live streams, or I'll pause a game and put it in the middle. Badlands Crew is not really one of those games I can do that in. It requires quite a lot of my focus when we're out there doing things, and also it's required me to have sort of peripherals full of crap on my desk, which I want to get rid of. I don't really want them on here anymore. Your Jump Ship video is quite good, by yours or anyone's standards. I shared it more than once. Thank you very much, Dwight. I appreciate that. Join SK's Discord if you haven't. Thank you very much, HJ. See, now that's another thing. Like the Discord, the Discord has pretty much died now. It's very, very little sort of interactivity in the Discord, and I wanted to sort of talk about these things with you guys and the channel overall, and some of the plans that I've got. Some of the things that I've had planned for years and they've been rattling around, but they've never quite taken shape, or I'm never quite happy with where they've got to, so I haven't done anything. A couple of things that me and HJ and Matt have talked about recently. The red shirts and the fact that I keep calling it the red shirts, but I really need to stop. There's Mike. How you doing, Mike? And Geggs is in here. I saw Geggs a second ago. Nobody give Geggs a norm? What happened to that, man? What's that about? So, yeah, you know, memberships and the other channel that I've kind of... that I made, but haven't put any content on because I was trying to build up a back catalogue of, and then that got pushed to the side. So I kind of really wanted to... I'll share my norm with Geggs. Excellent. Didn't work earlier when I tried it. Yeah, I don't know why. I think maybe... Did you try doing it before? If it's on the opening screen, so if it's on the starting screen, it won't work. Because I don't actually have the Mix It Up overlay on that screen. It's the one screen I don't have it on. So if you put that just before I switched over, it probably won't have worked. I waited. Oh, right. Okay, well. Well, it works now. So, yeah, there's just a lot of things rattling around in my head. And normally, poor old HJ and Matt, and sometimes Richard, kind of just get to hear about this. And I just rabbit onto them for hours and hours and hours and hours. But I kind of wanted a little bit of feedback from you guys to see what you guys think. And as I said, we'll look at some trailers a little bit later of games that I'm looking forward to. Or and, you know, we'll talk about where the channel's going and what sort of ideas I have for it. So what I plan to do is we'll just kind of take breaks every now and again and we'll watch a trailer and we'll chat about that, and then we'll come back to this is SK's ideal stream. No, it isn't. That shows how little HJ no. I know what he means. He likes, yeah, he gets to talk. I know what he means, but the thing is it's one thing doing it with close friends, but it's quite another thing doing it like this onto a stream. This is actually the most... Normally, I'm not nervous for live streams, generally, unless I haven't streamed for a long time, and then I worry that things are going to go wrong, because they usually do. Perfect is the enemy of good enough. Yeah, I know. But no, HJ's wrong about that. It's not my ideal stream. I actually don't like doing this at all. Not to those guys, those poor buggers get to listen to me yammer on all the time, but it's because I've got just a lot of everyday stuff to talk to them about as well. Then, like the Red Shirts RDR2 stuff. That was something that sounded fun. The Red Shirts RDR2 stuff will still happen. It is still happening, but... that content is a little bit different. So the problem is I don't really have any... One of the reasons I don't like this, one of the reasons HJ's wrong about that is because I don't have... This was a last-minute decision. This afternoon I decided to do this. And quite late on, I was still kind of going, should I do this? But I don't really like... Especially, I don't like being this big on your screen either. I don't like being this size. We had a shoddy cameraman. But yes... Okay, there are lots of problems with that. None of them are insurmountable. I will talk to you about it, and the reason I'm kind of really hoping... Hey, there you go. Any thoughts on channel memberships and perks? So I have had a few, and the guys had... No, I did zoom out the camera already. When I turned it on, I was like, there, in your face. So I zoomed it right out. I zoomed the camera right out, but so that was a lot smaller so that you can see my Aperture Science t-shirt. So memberships and perks. Your giant head is on my unnecessarily large TV. I'm sorry about that, Geggs. I hate it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it. I'm frightened. So... memberships and perks. The reason I wanted to talk to you all about this is precisely because every single thing I want to do, every single thing I'm working on, everything, let's reject the screen, everything that's going around in my head, everything that fills all these notebooks that I have kicking around. Look, that one still says knock on the spine of it, even though I've changed it. Of course it does, because why would it not? All those things that I have going around in my head, I have a habit, as Richard would be the first to tell you, of taking a really simple idea, because ideas are the one thing I have no shortage of. I have hundreds of them all the time. But I do have a habit of taking a simple idea and overcomplicating it. And I still do that all the time because, like a filmmaker or a writer or a songwriter, any kind of person, I have this idea of what I want it to be. And I know that you guys don't expect it to be perfection, but I do. And that kind of, and you're quite right to say the perfect is the enemy of the good. Yep, that's fine, and I agree with you. But it's really, really difficult for me to to throw stuff out there when I know how much better I could make it. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to put stuff out there, but like, for example, when it comes to memberships and perks, one of the problems I always have is I'm always trying to make stuff that doesn't need to be, that even by my standards doesn't really need to be perfect. I'm trying to make it right before it starts, because I have had so many times in my life where I've messed things up because I've put things a certain way and then I've wanted to change it. I'll just put it out there for now. And that is absolutely, you are correct, that is absolutely what I should be doing. But I kind of throw things out there and put them out for now, and then I change them every 2 minutes, and it doesn't quite work. And when it comes to YouTube and YouTube memberships, I'm not really sure how that would affect things and how it would trickle down. But the other thing is, I also have Patreon, and Patreon have changed a few things lately, so I'm trying to go over to Ko-fi, whatever they want to call it. Coffee, I assume, but somehow saying that about it sounds weird. I know that's what they were going for there, but I totally understand where you're coming from. Knowing your own abilities, you'd always want to push and improve and never fall short based on your own standards. Yeah, thank you. But I do have some ideas, and the main problem that's held me back from memberships is, what I'm like about taking money from people. Thank you very much, by the way, for the donation there, Mike. I appreciate that for the chat. Thank you very much. Thank you for reminding me it was a thing for a start. I always forget. But I appreciate it greatly. But one of the things is that because I've got members on different platforms, some of the things that YouTube has me offer to members, I can set in the membership settings. I can set them to be available to members only, so that YouTube takes a lot of that work out of my hands. But then if I've got people who are supporting me elsewhere, how do I get that to them, right? So I'd have to disable that, and some of the things I had an idea for, I'd have to share the links individually to every person, But there are some ideas, and one of them that the guys and I talked about recently is that and I'm not really sure what format it's going to take, is why it's created a bit of a problem. I've been thinking about it a bit, but it's busy in here, and it's gotten jumbled up with a lot of other stuff. But what I said to them was, how would you feel about us, the Red Shirts, or whatever we're going to be called? And we'll talk about that a bit more today as well, and hopefully I'd like to get your feedback on it. But I said to them, what do you think about, would you be willing to just hang out and talk about upcoming video games, like a video game or one or two, like a bit like a podcast kind of idea? But like, I've had one or two ideas of how we could do it, and we could do it as a live stream. And then HJ said, What if? Because he knows I've been always trying to come up with things that I can offer as membership perks that I could keep up with. On top of all the other stuff I'm trying to do, I need it to be something I can deliver on, and that's the difficulty, right? It's all right doing one thing here and there and every now and again. But the other thing is I don't like taking content away or locking it behind a paywall. So what HJ said was, why, if we did like a Red Shirts chat and a hangout, maybe once a month, not on a specific day, because, you know, Matt has a very unusual schedule, and, you know, it's not always 100% possible to get Richard there, but we'll see. You know, we could do it on a different day, but roughly every month. And we could make being in that chat live and watching it live a members-only perk. But then Matt suggested, quite rightly, I thought it was a great idea as well. So it was great because they were both contributing ideas about what I could do, which I love them, but it is difficult to get them to contribute ideas. Normally, I say, let's do this, and they go, no, well, and we get on with it, or we don't. It doesn't happen, or we talk about it, and then it never really materializes. But so getting that feedback from them was great. And HJ suggested we offer it as a membership perk. And then Matt said, well, if you're going to do that, though, and I agree with him entirely, he said the next month, when you do the next live one, you release the months before to everybody. So make it public, right? So that, I think, is a good way to go with that. But what format it will take, I don't know. If it'll happen, I don't know. YouTube, I've been on YouTube now for coming up now next month. Is it July? Coming up next month, I'll have been on YouTube making YouTube content for 18 years. 18 years. That's a long... No, not 18 years. I got the math wrong on that. Wait. 17 years. 17 years. Yeah. So next month, it will be 17 years that I've been on YouTube. My math right this time. Yes. No, I was right the first time. 18 years, 2007. 18 years next month. It shows what folks could do if they join live. Yeah, I agree, Dwight. What's Mike saying there? Chat could be public to watch and only members to participate in order to nudge people to becoming members and also allow others to buy membership for others in attendance. That's very true. Not a bad idea. I like it. I'll bear that one in mind. But yeah, 18 years I've been making YouTube content, and it started off for, you know, like the first, 11 years. I started off by making short films and trying to put things together. Kitty will remember that. Richard remembers that. Kitty was a part of them at one point, but, you know, I started making them way before that, and Richard and I used to do odd little bits together, and sort of, because, you know, I'm a film nut, so I just wanted to, I had lots and lots of little ideas for comedy sketches and things like that, but it was always really, really, really difficult to get people involved. So I started coming up with ideas, and this is a long time ago now. I'm going back 14, 15 years. I started to come up with ideas for things I could do by myself much more easily. And so, you know, one of the ideas I came up with was a show called Pod 5, which is basically the whole thing set in an escape pod. And I would film it with green screen and some background props and sets that I used to make, because I used to love making those things. I used to make all my own props and sets and things. Nowadays, you can just 3D print stuff, so it's not so difficult. But I just used to enjoy making stuff like that out of junk, and some of it looked great. But once I had the idea of doing that for Pod 5, again, it became more complicated, because I wanted to clear out, at the time I had a garage, and I wanted to clear it out and just make a full-scale set, which, you know, not that I could walk around, but that you could see behind me at least, so it wouldn't be the whole thing, right? And then I came up with a whole universe because I came up with a series of shows that were like that were easy to make, that was set in a whole universe. And we started filming one or two. Richard and I started filming one or two. So there are still film bits in my archives where I've tried making those. Didn't think YouTube was 18 18 years old. Yes, YouTube is 20 years old this year, in fact. In February, on my birthday, actually, in February, it turned 20. 20 years old in February this year it was. But yeah, I joined in 2007, but late 2007. So YouTube had been around like 2.5 years by the time I started putting content on it. But a long, long time anyway. But yeah, what I'm saying there is I tend to overcomplicate things. And because it was really difficult for me to get people together, and because I really am anxious in the presence of other people, I don't perhaps seem it because I talk a lot and I'm loud and, you know, I have all these ideas and I want to get the guys involved and stuff like that. But I really am quite anxious about kind of hanging out with other people. So that also makes it quite difficult. But, you know, I had a lot of the equipment for voiceover and stuff like that. So I tried animated stuff, but I wasn't very good at animating. And I tried, it was really, really, as you can imagine, doing animated things is really, really labor intensive. And it took so much of my time. And the problem is you've almost got no audience. And throwing something out there like a YouTube short or something like that, or a Let's Play that you just throw out the door, you don't really care if you've got no audience, right? But trying to make a vision come alive where it takes you months and months and months to do a 30-second long scene that nobody's ever going to see, that kind of wears on you after a while. Hello, Mordred. How you doing? So, you know, from there, I kind of came to doing Let's Plays. Because my other love, video games, I thought, well, I can, you know, machinima was becoming a big thing. And I thought, well, I could kind of tell my stories through video games. I could do it that way. But I thought I'll test the waters by just doing a Let's Play, right? And that basically just became a fairly standard Let's Play. And that was KCD when I first did Kingdom Come Deliverance. But I loved the game so much after a while that I did the review, and then the channel went through the roof. And so then my brain just kind of went, this is it. This is what people want. They want reviews. But the thing is, what I'd made my popularity by making ultimate reviews, so hundreds of hours of gameplay. And of course, that being the case, I couldn't do that very often. And, you know, it just... That's where I kind of lost the plot a bit. Because I started spending a lot of my time emailing game devs and stuff like that and trying to get keys for games. And after a while, that really kind of got me down. And I didn't want to do that anymore. And the thing is, I've been on YouTube so long now, studying it and seeing how it works, that the weird thing is I know how YouTube works. And I know how I could improve my views and so on YouTube. But the thing is that my brain won't let me do that. It doesn't work that way, right? The problem with the arcade is that there's too wide a variety of stuff on it. And I had, if any of you that were in the Discord might recall, about 1.5 years ago, I had finally reached the decision to sort of step away from the arcade a bit and concentrate more on the other channel, which is when I started setting that up for character-only story content. And I was starting to do that, and then Toby reached out to me and said, we're about to announce KCD 2. And of course I went, oh, okay, right, excellent. And I dived back into it, and after a few months, as you'll recall, if you're following all my ranting in the Discord, I just thought to myself, I'm doing it all over again. I'm going down the same little rabbit hole that led me to this place. And it's all going wrong. Like, I don't want to do this. I just don't want... I don't want to go down this road. And then, on top of that, there were all the long-time subscribers and things that had only subbed for KCD because most of them had come from that initial Ultimate review, most of my subscribers had come through that and then found my Let's Play series of KCD, because that was the only other thing on the channel. Then the channel exploded with the KCD Ultimate review, millions of views on that, and pretty much all that was there when they all came in was my Let's Play, because that's all I'd done. So, of course, they all subbed thinking that I was a KCD channel, and that led, you know, together with the night name and everything else that I've talked about, that led to people thinking that I was all about medieval fantasy games, which I'm not, and specifically KCD, which I'm not. So that's why I made the video earlier in the year where I said I'm not going to play this. I'm just not going to do it. I won't play KCD2 because it's just feeding the monster that almost ate my soul. So I just decided I wasn't going to do that. I only do live streams because I like the back and forth that I have with you guys, and it's my way of sort of talking to my regular, loyal, pretty much watch everything that I ever do viewers, and that's you guys, right? That's Mordred, that's Kitty, that's HJ, that's Geggs, that's Weevil, that's Dwight, that's Connor. You know, that's all of those people. That you guys that sort of keep me fueled up. And sort of that's, you know, that's why I live stream. Some days I really don't feel like doing it, which is why I no longer have a set regular schedule where I say I'll be on every week. I try to keep to the same date and the same time usually, but I don't do it every week because, you know, it becomes a bit of a grind, and technology's changing all the time and new things come along, and I just, with all the other stuff I keep in my brain, I just can't keep up. So I get far behind, and then I really struggle to get everything working. And ultimately, it's great to talk to you guys, but what is happening there is that I'm spending a lot of my time trying to keep the machine oiled and running to do one live stream a week for about 12 people. And that's great. So what I'm trying to say about that is the only reason I do these is because I like that back and forth with you guys who have always been there and have always given me that support. And I like that little tight-knit sort of community that we have. So I like that. I don't expect to get big views from my live streams. That's not why I do it. But I don't really expect to get big views from anything. But with last year, when my voiceover work really started to take a nosedive, over time it's become clearer and clearer that I've kind of got to make money somehow, because the voiceover money has gone and it's kind of dropped off a cliff, and the channel's sputtering now and coughing along. So I'm going to try. I'm not saying I'm definitely going to do this because I know what will happen. I know how busy my brain is. I know how much it gets in the way of me doing stuff. I'm going to try to narrow the focus of this channel a bit, right? Is that AI, do you reckon, or other factors? The voiceover thing is mainly AI, yeah, because most of the work that I'll say mid-level voiceover artists, right? Because I've done this at a professional level for a long time. But I'm not, you know, I'm not Troy Baker or you know, anybody like that. So let's say I'm a middle, so I'm not up there, but I'm not right down at the bottom and just starting out. But so I've done this professionally for a long time, for a lot of different companies. But it's, I would say a lot of the work for mid-level voiceover artists came from video voiceover, right? So YouTube video voiceover, corporate video voiceover, stuff like that, right? E-learning, YouTube video voiceovers, e-learning, and corporate videos and stuff like that. All of those, just general sort of grey narration, if you like, accounted for a large portion of what I did. A lot of the rest of it was audiobooks. Now, with fiction audiobooks, that hasn't really changed because they want someone to add emotion and give it characters and stuff like that. But it's hard to find those that pay. I really wanted to look into VO as I had the chance to spend time on it, but the stuff I do now is all AI. Yeah, exactly that. So all the general narration stuff that kind of was the bread and butter of people like me and other voiceover artists at my level, it just disappeared. In the space of 6 months, it just went until nobody was really doing it anymore. Very few people now are hiring humans to do that. They don't need to. Because they can get AI to do that much, much cheaper, which I am sure that you must have all noticed. I know I have. Of course, not just because of my job, but because of watching YouTube. I'm sure you must have all noticed that there are so many videos out there now, informational things, that just have the same kind of voice, right? So, yeah, it's tough, but the YouTube thing has taken a dip as well. I had lots of plans to sort of bring it back, but my plans for focusing down never really work. Because if there is one problem in my life, besides my sleep, if there is one problem that has always been an issue for me, is that I cannot focus. I really, really, really struggle to focus on one thing. I want to do so many things, and I have so many ideas going around in my head all the time. I'm scribbling them on notes, on bits of paper, and Post-its, and which are all over the place around here. Like, my desk is just absolutely littered with them. Weevil can attest to that, and Kitty, because they were here, a couple of months ago they were here. They can, it's just, my desk is littered with Post-its. I did VO for a work video. Oh, yeah, I remember that. But when our equipment, and therefore the script, changed, the studio just AI'd my voice to make the changes instead of me recording new dialogue. Can't say I was a fan. No. It's basically AI has been a killer, as you know, I'm sure most of you know, for creative people in general. It's been a killer, because the work that we can, and the thing is, a lot of the people who've had their sort of day-to-day bread and butter jobs replaced by AI have now flooded back into the regular workplace. So now it's had a knock-on effect that it's affecting everything else as well, and it's just harder and harder to get a job in general. So yeah, it's been a pain. Constant thoughts, stream of a billion things make. Yeah, I have ideas for videos and characters, and the thing is, I'm always trying to create stuff, right? I've been working on, like, the Red Shirts now has a theme tune, right? Because I wanted to do it for the videos, and the Red Shirts has a theme tune now. And the good thing about it is that being conscious of AI and the impact it's had, I didn't want to use AI to create it from scratch. So I composed the tune myself, and I played it out or I picked it all out on the piano, but then I can't fit we have a large piano, so I can't get it on the desk here and use it as a MIDI keyboard. So I had to use my computer keyboard, and I created it and picked it out and stuff like that, and wrote down all the little bits and pieces and the little tweaks that I'd made to it. Then I wanted to create that myself in like a MIDI so like in Soundtrap I went to create that. But then they had a different keyboard layout in there for the PC keyboard, so I had to pick it all out again and learn how to do it all again. Then I did that, and I adjusted the different voices, the instruments that it had, and I tweaked the timings and things like that. Then, once it was right, I gave it to AI and said, right, now... So I basically gave it to AI to perform it. I wrote it, I composed the thing, then I gave it to AI to perform. So I said, right, I want this played by an orchestra, and I want it, in this sort of style. And the good thing about that is, depending on what kind of video, the reason I wanted to do this is because dependent on what kind of video we were making or what kind of game we were in, I wanted to be able to keep the tune that I'd written, but change the change the vocals of it, if you like, change the voices, change the genre. So I can write that tune now and have AI perform it as like a spaghetti western-esque theme, or a bombastic sort of John Williams kind of thing, iconic sort of soundtrack, anything like that. I can kind of have it do, and it takes a lot of messing around, but I feel better about it because I'm just having it perform it as I would a band. Like if I had the resources and the contacts and the money to do that, because I play several instruments, but I don't play any of them well. I played the guitar reasonably well years and years ago, but I've not practiced it enough. So I've gotten to that stage. Most old men are like got a guitar, and I can only remember like 5 or 6 of the things I ever used to play. So I want to play Cowboys. AI is a wild west at the moment, as there is almost no regulation, and its ethical use is not well defined, especially commercial use. Companies will do anything to save expenses. Very true. I would expect that to change for the better over the next 10 years if society can come to grips with it before it destroys society. Well, yes. That's cheery. But I agree. I have a house now. Right, so, with respect to Matt, I don't want to go into details because that's his business, but Matt has had a major upheaval, which is why he's been missing a lot for the Red Shirts recently. So he has just had a major house move, a major one, which I'm not going to go into details of. As I said, that's his business, but he's been out of the picture for a while, and I would expect him to be a while yet before he's settled in. But and of course Richard is missing a lot of the time because Richard only has an Xbox. He does not have a PC capable of playing a lot of the games that we want to play, which makes it really hard for us all to play together. Now, it was all shit. It was all shit, wasn't it, buddy? I'm sorry you had to go through all of that. That was I told Amki last night that it was all settled now. Well, more or less, I said it's okay, and she kind of just went, "Oh, thank God," because we've both been sort of holding our breath for you, buddy. Like, what we've all been like. You know what me and HJ and Richard have been like as well. It's like, come on, sort it out, and it's so cool that we finally got that fixed. But well, we have a hold. So yeah, it's. I want to do more Red Shirt stuff, and I was kind of buoyed up by the feedback I got from HJ and Matt when we were just chatting about it before, chatting about, could we do like a Red Shirts roundtable thing? But we need a new name, and the problem is whenever I mention that, I don't get a lot of feedback on it. So it's like we need a new name. So I've got a few here. Let me put my glasses on. I've got a few here, right, that I came up, and whenever I come up with another one, I kind of write it down. So we've got HJ. Do me a favor, will you? Can you type these out as I say them? Because otherwise, I've got to sign into the chat over here to do that. I still kind of like the interns. I think I dropped that one. I didn't really. And some of these I don't particularly like, but I just want to throw them out there. Thank you very much. Space Cadets. It might get me number 1 spot. Oh, I see. Fighting for the number 1 spot now. Brannigan's strategy experience. We've been joking a lot about that, actually, Gegs, because Matt is... When he plays Jump Ship... Normally, when we play a game where we've got a vessel, he doesn't like to leave it. He likes us to go, right? But in Jump Ship, it's totally different. Because he's got a jetpack, he just flies out the thing and he's just zap Brannigan. And he was saying before that he doesn't know why the game makes him go all zap, but for some reason that one does. So he's a Space Ranger. HJ, do me a favor, will you? Right, so I've got, starting at the top here, inoperatives was one I wrote down. So inoperatives. Dead weights. which I kind of like. Understudies, which I think one of you guys came up with when we were in doing the Savage Planet streams. Bench warmers. Inoperatives, deadweights, understudies, bench warmers so far. Substitutes. Backups. You know, these are all fairly generic kind of synonyms for similar things, really. Stand-ins. Alternates. Footnotes, I quite liked. Sideliners. Randoms. Dropouts. Drawbacks. And goners. I was running out of ideas towards the bottom there, but, you know, there you go. So I came up with a few. I quite like deadweights. I quite like that one. I think it's because I can kind of see it already written. It's like I can see it. I'm like, oh, I see. I've got an idea for that. But, yeah. Randoms. Too fast now. Was I going too fast? What, after stand-ins? After stand-ins, we had alternates. Deadweights is pretty good. Yeah. So we had alternates, footnotes. Deadweights seems nice. Astroneers. Total rip-off. Pretenders. Yeah. A warm corpse battalion is a little bit of a mouthful. Oh dear. Where did we get to there? Night Brigade. Yellow shirts. Nothing with shirts because they've all been kind of co-opted over time by not very nice people. They all have a history, let's say. They all have dodgy historical connections. Most of them. I like deadweights and bench warmers. I wouldn't go with dropouts, as the old College Humor channel is now called Dropout. Is it? Okay. Well, that's the other problem. That's why I usually throw these out, because I have to come up with several that are... I have to come up with several ideas that are... that I like. So make a short list, shorten the list a bit, and then I have to go looking and see whether this is already a thing. It's already a channel, whether it's already... And our motto should be, it'll be a milk run. So yeah, it's, you know, it's great to get that kind of feedback from the. I'm trying to see if I can kind of. I'm actually trying to see whether or not I want to share. HJ, what do you think? I don't know. I'm trying to see whether I want to share with you guys the one or two of the Red Shirts theme song things. Because I wasn't really quite ready to share it, because I haven't... I've basically shelved it for the minute because I'm working on something else. And it sounds great, it's just not quite there yet, but I've played several different versions of it, so I guess I could probably throw a couple of those in. Matt has not heard it yet, no. I have a plan. Oh, God. Yeah, no. HJ is the only person that has heard the Red Shirts... well, Matt will be pleased. I called the main thing when I was... Because the thing is, when you're having AI create these, when you're having AI sort of play it in different styles and things like that, every time I come up with one I want to keep and go, oh, that's not a bad one. I like the, you know, I like the way it's got the instruments on here, there. I kind of have to name it something. So I've, you know, just so it doesn't get lost in all the other stuff. We want to hear it. Okay, well, I'll try. I will try to bring it in, because the problem is your audio what you can hear is, well, I guess now it's coming through here, but anything that comes through the capture card has to come from the other PC. So, and I don't have any of this on the other PC, so let's see if I can find any of them. So I've renamed them all, and what Matt will be very pleased to hear that I called one of them the Almost Cool. I started it off by calling it the Red Shirts March, and then we called it the Almost Cool theme. My favourite one I called Who's With Me? So we'll see. What have we got? I have to... I don't know if you'll actually hear this. You might. Nope. That's not it. Sorry. Okay, so the cool thing about that wasn't one of the better versions, but it's the one that sort of plays the whole thing. And so, the thing is, the problem is when you give it to AI and you say, right, I want this in orchestral style, it changes bits of it from time to time. But I've discarded anything where it changed the main theme. But what I love about it is that I wrote that, I composed that tune, I played it into the piano, and I gave it the tune and said, now play that with a full orchestra. But one of the ones I like best, I'm going to play you this one, because one of the ones I like best, I called this one Who's With Me, because this is one of the first ones it spat out, and this is basically just the main theme. It's none of the other little fillers that I added. This is everything that I played it, and it just gave it back to me as an orchestral string swell. So I called it Who's With Me? Because it's like one of those down and out moments, and you're like, come on, get up, we can do this. So yeah, I called this one Who's With Me. Oh, I love it. I love that one. That was my favorite. But yeah, it's that one. I don't mind admitting that one kind of made me weep a bit, because that was one of the first ones it gave back to me, and that's the first time I had ever heard something that I had written, like note for note. I heard something I had composed played by in inverted commas, by an orchestra. And so that was it was a bit of an emotional moment for me when I heard that played back, and it was like, what? I wrote that. So yeah, it was nice. But what HJ hasn't heard yet, that I kind of wanted to play for you, when I can find the Red Shirts folder, which I always lose because I keep putting it in different places like an idiot. And then when I upstart DaVinci Resolve and stuff like that, it goes, all those files on that thing you were working, they're all gone, they're missing. And I'm like, shit, I changed the name of the folder. Then I have to remember where I put it. Oh no. I don't think they're in there. Oh, I didn't even put them in there now. See, I knew it. I knew I'd be able to find these. Those are the ones in the downloads folder, so I knew they were there. But the ones I wanted to show this one to HJ because this is so cool. Wait. So what I wanted to do was come up with a... Let me just expand that so I can read them all. Oh, it's not even in there. What? That's really weird. Is that it? No. No! Can't find it. Okay, right. HJ, he's still there. I got it now. I found that I basically was 3. I called one of them Red Shirts Moving On Down the Trail. So I wanted to come up with one that I could put over the RDO thing, right? So I'm not sure which one of these are the best because I've got 3 here that it sort of spat out the DNA of that theme. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I was really kind of wanted to get your feedback and Richard's feedback on it as well, because it's like something I'm really proud of because I composed it, and and Amki and the kids were just humming it for days. They only heard it once, and after hearing it once, they were just humming it for days, so they couldn't get it out of their brain. I said, "Excellent. That's what I want. A theme that you can't get out of your brain." So I don't know which one of these it made. Which one of these was the best? I can't remember. So we'll try it. Let's see. Okay, so that one, it goes off the rails a bit after that, though. It deviates from what I wrote there too much at the end. But I got to get 3 of them. Actually, one of them was called Red Shirts Campfire Shenanigans, which I think was the first one I played you. This one I called Red Shirts Hoedown. And this next one I called Red Shirts Moving On Down the Trail. So yeah, that's you get the idea. There's a really sad version, short. Oh no, HJ accidentally fell off the cliff. Yeah, the sad one we can play when your horse inevitably gets hit by a train. So, yes. So that's one of the things, that's one of the many things that I've been working on for a bit. So, yeah, I mean, I composed I composed the theme a few weeks ago. And, I worked on it for a couple of days, getting different ones and stuff like that, trying to get it to create different things. And sometimes the problem is that sometimes it deviates. So you just have to bin all of those ones and kind of go, no, stick to the theme I gave you, stick to the notes I gave you. And, sometimes it comes up with great stuff, but there's a different program that I want to use, which is better. I'm going to work on sci-fi theme tunes as well. Yeah, sci-fi theme tunes we came up with. I've got I tried to do one very much Pirates of the Caribbean style, but it was okay, but, didn't work quite so well. I'll just jump off of them for fun. So it's one of the things that I'm currently doing, or that I've been doing this last 4 or 5 days, is I'm trying to. I don't know how much time any of you spend in the Discord. The eagle-eyed of you might have noticed that I added a Red Shirts chat thing in there, because one of the problems that I have when I'm creating Red Shirts stuff is that what I tend to do is I just record us playing, right? So when we have the time to get together and play, I just hit record, and I just record the whole thing, right? Now, my audio is already separate. It's already on a separate track, because that's what any creator or filmmaker does. You have the audio on the separate track whenever possible. The problem is that I talk to those guys through Xbox chat or Steam chat, and I cannot separate that from the game audio with the current software that I have. And even when I can separate it from the game audio, I can't separate them from each other. So the first step now is to find a way that we can all chat together regularly, that we're all using the same program. And the problem with that comes, again, firstly, because Richard only has an Xbox. So it has to be a method of chat that he can access from the Xbox when he's playing. For me and HJ and Matt, it's not so much of a problem, because they're usually like really small programs that take up almost no space. They're not particularly resource intensive, so we can just all have the same program running at the same time, and that's not an issue. But for Richard, he would have to record it through his headset and on Xbox, so it has to be something that works through there. So this Discord is one, but that has its own issues, because it doesn't deal with audio. The problem with Discord is that it tries to be too clever. So it screws up a lot of what would otherwise be perfectly good audio that I could clean up much better than it could. But it uses all sorts of noise suppression software and things like that, and it makes it sound like crap. So, but we'll try. We'll see if I can get it to work. Because when it mixes it all in with the game, the problem is that if I'm trying to get something from the game and people are talking over it at the time that happened, I can't separate that out, right? So I can't lift the game without lifting you can to an extent, but it sounds awful. So I can't separate that from the game audio, right? Whenever we're on Steam, HJ's audio, for example, always sounds crazy loud, but on Xbox, it's always super quiet. Right? So depending on the game, and if everyone's at different volume levels, I can't, if they're all on one track, I can't lower one without lowering the game audio and everybody else's audio. I can't raise one without raising and making somebody else clip or the game clip so that you can hear this person. And I can't separate it out and put it in a bit where there was nothing else going on so you can hear what they said. So it's kind of really difficult to do that. So at the moment, I'm trying to find a way around that problem that won't interfere too much with what the guys are doing, so that won't require too much input from them, because it's, they're just doing this for fun. It's me that goes all crazy with it and tries to make things out of it. Maybe the volume for HC on PS5 was just right. Yeah. HC, have you got a PS5? Because, it doesn't matter, because the other three of us have not. So it doesn't make any difference. But I was curious as to whether any of us have got a PS5. I don't think so. I don't think any of us have got a PlayStation. No, he hasn't, no. Yeah, I don't think any of us have got a PlayStation, so that's definitely not an option. Bill Carter, how you doing, buddy? PS4, right. I believe I successfully set up the Discord audio separate from the game audio using the game capture source. Yeah, I can I can separate it. Like I have another scene collection set up in OBS, which of course I'm using now. And I have another scene collection set up in there, which is just for recording that, and it has the Discord chat put in. But firstly, I haven't managed to test it yet to try to balance it all out. It does separate the chat from the game audio, of course. There we go. Yeah, it does separate the chat from the game audio successfully, but Discord chat is not great. It's a bit dodgy. And also, in an ideal world, as I've said this to HJ many times, in an ideal world, everyone would be recording their own audio and game footage so that you could always occasionally see things from their point of view as well as from mine, and I could cut them all together like that, because otherwise, no matter what I make, it's always going to be from my perspective. But that's not going to happen. I'm not kidding myself about that. It's not going to happen. The next step down, ideally, would be for them to all record separate audio. But again, that's going to be kind of tough, and it's asking them to do more than I really want to ask of them. Gotta go to Denver. I love the theme, man. Gave me goosebumps. Love you, buddy. Good to see you in here, my friend. Take it easy. Fly safe. Keep the blue side up. And I will talk to you soon. And I'm super, super happy that you're getting sorted now, buddy. Like that really has been, like, I know it's nothing compared to what it was like for you, but it's been weighed on me quite a lot as well. So I'm super happy you got that sorted out. If you want to separate audio, you just need to invite more content creators that already record their own side anyway. Bill Carter. So, okay, because this is about talking about the channel, let's talk about that. What I don't think I don't ever talk about this to the Red Shirt, so I don't even really ever talk about this to HJ and Matt and Richard. But despite what my persona may seem like when I'm here, I am super anxious about hanging out and playing with other people. Like, no matter how much I like them, right? Some of these people are my best friends in the world. And with the exception of HJ and Matt and Richard, of course, I've known for 25 years. But with the other two, I've known for years now. I've been playing with for years. But what I never talk about with them, I was thinking about this the other night, because, I was playing Peak with HJ. And I'd said, how do you know so much about this if you've only just played it? Have you been watching videos? And he said, I was watching a friend of mine play it, right? Now, he said a friend, so I assume that means I don't... Usually when HJ says that, means I don't know who that person is, right? So that's another friend he has, right? But he also plays with Fran and Maple. He occasionally plays on with Spiff on her live stream. And he's talked about another person here and there, right? And it is frankly hilarious to me that HJ thinks he is an introvert. It's the funniest thing ever that he thinks he's introverted. Now, maybe you talk about scales of introversion, but to me, HJ just socializes differently than the rest of us, right? I kind of feel bad about hunting you down in Project Winter now. No, I don't feel bad about that. Yeah, no, that is like whenever I do the Project Winter stuff, it's like it's a once in a while kind of thing. You were a bad guy in that game. Who I was or Vilkar was. Yeah, the Project Winter and the multiplayer content creator streams are a once in a while thing, but I kind of use the other guys that are there. This is why I try to always make sure the red shirts are in there, right? Because I kind of use those guys as a buffer. It's like going somewhere where you don't know anybody and having your kids with you. I don't know if anybody out there with children knows this feeling, right? But for me, the poor little kids, they're like a shield, right? Because it's a familiar place. It's like home, right? And they don't know, the kids don't know this, but they are keeping me from having a social anxiety meltdown. And the red shirts serve that same function when I do a content creator stream, which is kind of why I try to make sure they're all there. Because with them there, I'm okay. And I feel like grounded and I'm in my comfort zone. He shot me with a gun I gave him. But yeah, HJ, he just socializes differently than I do. Because for almost all of HJ's lifetime, almost the whole time, the internet has been a thing. But it's only been a thing for half of my lifetime. And it's, or I guess a little bit more than half, but thereabouts. But it's, I'm more used to pretending to get on with people when I'm outside and stuff like that, and I can feign confidence. I've done it lots of times. I used to be a firearms instructor. I was a tour guide. I used to entertain people all the time. But that's complete strangers that I never, ever will ever see again after that moment. When I'm entertaining people, it's not so bad. But just hanging out and playing with them and stuff like that, it's incredibly anxious. And what I've never said to the red shirts before, any of them I don't think, is that what they don't understand about me is that I have, these guys are my friends, right? HJ and Richard and Matt. And at 3 friends, I am redlining there, right? I am in red. I am right on the ragged edge. To try to keep more people in my social circle that I socialize with and hang out with and play is pushing the needle off the edge at that, and I have a proper meltdown. So yeah, it's like I said, the fact that HJ thinks he's an introvert is hilarious to me because he's got more friends. Like I think he's got more friends than the rest of us combined. He just socializes differently. He does it, But yeah, so it's. I do honestly always want to sort of hang out and do things with other people, but it's with my social anxiety and with everything else that's going on in my brain, it's very rarely that happens. It's unusual. So yeah, it happens, but it's very, very rare, especially in games, because I already feel, even though I've been a gamer longer than some of you have been alive, which I hate saying, but I've been a gamer since like 1980. So it's a long, long, long time. But even though I've been doing it a long time, my brand is that I'm completely inept at most games. And the reason that that's my brand is because I'm completely inept at most games. So I always kind of feel I'm an extroverted introvert. I just get about online. Yeah, but that's what I mean. You're actually a very social person, but you just do it. You just get around a lot out online, but you don't go outside much. Played Pong in the 70s, still waiting for the DLC. So yeah, that's. There are always a million things that I'm working on, and I really I've talked to you guys a lot lately about how I'm trying to get back into doing Let's Plays, and I haven't forgotten about that. What you haven't seen is that I have recorded 3 or 4 different Let's Plays, but each time I've done it, it's not been quite right. So I tried it with the Atomfall earlier in the year. I tried doing a Hopelessly Adventurer Let's Play with Atomfall, but nothing really much happened. When I used to do Let's Plays, I used to sit down and I used to talk to nobody, because at the time I didn't have any. When I first started doing them, I didn't have any subscribers at all, no viewers whatsoever. I'd get maybe 26 views in a month on one video. So if video was up there, a Let's Play was up there a month, I might get 26 people watch it, maybe. And probably one of them was my wife. So, excuse me. Sorry about that. I went to a wedding of obligation last weekend. Yeah, I know you did, buddy. You told me. But you see, you enjoyed yourself there, you said, in the end. The danger of inviting someone else to our streams of content is they become a wild card, and if it's another creator, it's also sharing control to a degree. Yeah, actually, I'm a little bit more comfortable doing it with other creators than with anybody else, really. Because other content creators, to a degree, you know, live streamers, people who've just live streamed and they've only ever done that, not quite so much, but certainly other people who've made edited videos and they've done it for a long time, they kind of understand what the process is about and they get it. So when you're a part of the reason I don't invite more people more often is firstly because of the anxiety thing, and secondly because I'm always worried that I have to. It's like watching other people's live streams, right? I watch HJ's live stream sometimes when he streams, and I watch Spiff's, and occasionally I'll watch Roxy, but you know she doesn't live stream very often now. But I do that a lot of the time because I feel like I need to support the people that have supported me. But in general, I don't watch live streams. It's just not what I do. I don't pass my time that way. I always have a million other things to do. And if I've got time to spare where I'm not doing anything to do with gaming, well, I'm either playing a game or I'm watching a movie or something. Because that's just, I love movies. So that's what I kind of do with my spare time, when my alone time, spare time, if I have any, when I need to take a break from everything, I'm generally just watching movies. I genuinely consider myself an extroverted introvert. I do very public events, like MC for the air show or sporting events or being on the floor of the gym talking to a couple of hundred. Instant that stuff's over. Yeah, but that's different though, I think, Dwight. Don't you think? I'm supposed to be editing my next Satisfactory episode right now. Yeah. And I appreciate you being here, buddy. I do. But I'm the same. I generally just don't watch live streams. And it's one of the reasons I don't do more of them these days, because I don't understand the mindset, really. It's hard for me to get inside the mind of people who like to watch live streams, because I'm not really one of those people. So I feel a bit, when I'm live streaming, I feel a bit more like a fraud. When I'm editing video or I'm recording in my own space and nobody's watching me live and I'm doing it to edit later, that's no problem. But when I'm live streaming, I feel more like a fraud because I feel like I'm in someone else's territory because I don't really watch live streams. Yeah, it is. It's a very different kind of thing, Dwight. Yeah, because as I said, I've had lots of jobs. You know, I was a market researcher for a long time where I had to kind of interview people all day long about crime statistics and stuff like that. I did the crime survey for the Home Office. I used to be a firearms instructor, and I used to have to, talk and yell and things at people all day. I was a tour guide, and I used to have to entertain people all day long into a microphone. I used to have to entertain people and tell them about the history of Stockholm and Sweden and all these things. And that, I used to act on stage. I used to busk. Long time ago, I used to sort of play in the street with a buddy of mine, who's always a much better guitarist. And, well, I won't say he's a better singer, but he was definitely a much better guitarist. Way better guitarist than me, even back then. Now, I hate to think, because I've forgotten the stuff that I did know. But I did used to play in the street. I used to act on stage. You know, I've never had a problem performing. Is not really an issue for me, but that's different than socializing. It is a very different thing, and it's it's a terror for me when I'm playing games with other people, particularly. It's because of my ineptitude, really, my incompetence, more so than anything else. So I just don't. But it is, you know, it's people in general. I'm awkward a lot of the time, even around people I've known for, like, Richard. Look, I've known Richard since he was 12 years old, right? We used to live for years. We lived in the same house. We used to hang out every single day. We used to play, right? But when I haven't seen Richard for even a few days, I'm kind of awkward when I'm at his house or if he comes here. And it's kind of stilted, awkward conversation at first. So even with people I've known for decades and consider my best friend in the world for a long time, it's like I still have that stilted kind of awkwardness, and it you know, it's a little bit weird. It's strange. But yeah, so that's regarding the Let's Plays. I have tried. So I tried to Let's Play Atomfall. I recorded a couple of episodes of a Let's Play, but you've never seen it because it just didn't flow like it used to, right? It just didn't come out. Then I recorded, I guess, I don't know how many episodes, but about 5 hours so far of Let's Play of The Alters, right? The problem with that game is it doesn't fit my Let's Play style because the character, almost every interaction you have in The Alters, the character is talking. So it doesn't give me that same... It doesn't give me the opportunity to do that thing that I tend to do in Let's Plays, which is to create characters of my own. I can't do that in The Alters for several reasons. One of which, if you know anything about The Alters, the game, is quite obvious why I can't create different characters in that. But yeah, that is actually part of the gameplay. That the main character speaks a lot and is himself a variety of slightly different characters, and it's so there's a lot of that. So I've recorded about 5 hours of that, but it doesn't really work for my style of Let's Play. So I keep trying to do that, and the only reason, like I said, the Let's Plays never really get watched. They just don't. Nobody really. It's very unusual for anyone to have a straight up Let's Play series that gets thousands of views. Even really, really big channels, they tend to tail off after a while. They just don't. Nobody watches them. Because nowadays people live stream, so you want to watch someone playing a game, you just go and watch a live stream, you watch them playing it live and you can interact with them. So nobody watches Let's Plays anymore. But that's not really what I was doing it for. It's not really for the views. It's because a lot of the stuff that I create, the character stories that I really enjoy, the comedic stuff where I'm inhabiting a character and I'm, like, Sunday, did I ever tell you about the time, Captain Cade, or Charles, when I did Among Trees, my darling Felicity, that, he'd all have his little diaries, or Butch Dumas, any of those characters that I've created, or, Jasper Stookley Sinclair, who will be the Red Shirts narrator when I start making stuff like that, as he used to be for the Sidekicks. And any of those characters, they've popped up organically from me doing a Let's Play. They just happen. And I miss that. So that's what I want to get back into Let's Plays for, but I haven't found one that really works. Your Outer Wilds Let's Play was good because of how passionately you love the game. So that certainly, it is very important. The Outer Wilds is one of my favourite games of all time. I think it is one of the greatest games ever made. I think it's brilliant. I do miss Charles. I want to learn about his strange relationship with his parents. Yes. And I have recorded more Charles stuff. And again, it's kind of waiting for, because there's the Long Dark. He's going into the Long Dark next, leaving Among Trees and going into the Long Dark. And then next year, the sequel to the Long Dark comes out. So he'll basically play through those sort of survival games. That's his. He has a whole story. It's all written out. I know where he comes from, and he's evolved quite a lot since I used to do those 1-minute intros in Among Trees. So he has a whole story. He has a whole story. Like we were writing a song for him as like an intro song and stuff like that, an outro song rather. In terms of your precise versions of Let's Play's Jump Ship, the unnamed fantasy game seem like the most engaging. Black Frost is also going to be co-op. Yeah, so that that's another thing. So that'll probably take the form of 2 different things. But when I make the character videos, I'm trying to keep them in one place. But with all the other stuff that's going on in my brain, sitting down to engross myself in a character video is like, it's massively time consuming, and I want to sort of try to make them more cinematic. Like I said many times before, Butch Dumars, I recorded 3 other videos of Butch Dumars. He has 3 other stories that I haven't put out yet because I don't want to put them on this channel. I want them to go on a different channel that is only about that, so that I have at least one niche channel, and then I try to kind of keep this channel more as a sort of catch-all for all the other stuff. But I will try to make this channel eventually, I think, more about the idea. This is the idea. This is not to say I'm going to be able to keep to it or focus on it or let this happen. But the idea is that this channel becomes more about live interactions a lot of the time. So if I get round to doing interviews, hopefully we'll do those with other YouTubers as well as, people from video games if I can get hold of those. I wanted to do a music segment where I interviewed Andrew Prolo and people like that. And then, we talked about the Red Shirts sort of roundtable, and then I want to live stream with the guys. I want to live stream Peak with HJ and Matt. That's an important addition. Outer Wilds 2 could be quite entertaining depending on the type of character you come. Outer Worlds 2, the Outer Worlds, yes. The Outer Worlds 2, I do plan to do a Let's Play of. Don't remember Among Trees. I will have to go back and watch it. Yeah, so in Among Trees, I mean, what happened in Among Trees, like I say, when I do a Let's Play, these characters sort of just grow organically. It's usually something that just happens in the spur of the moment, right? So when I made my Sea of Thieves videos way back in the early days of this channel, Roxy actually said to me, why don't you try Sea of Thieves? Because I said, my usual thing is exploring a vast expanse of sand, sea, sky, or space in a vessel of some sort. She said, why don't you try Sea of Thieves? It's currently on offer right? So this was, I think it had only been out 2 months. So this was August, I think, of 2018. Like 2 months after the game release, Sea of Thieves. And as most of you know, that has become a big part of my playing thing now. I played a lot of Sea of Thieves, but what happened was that I tried to sail from one island to another just to see how I could get a hang of the controls. And there wasn't a tutorial like there is now, so I thought, let's see if I can just sail from this place to that place. And I did, and I couldn't figure out how to stop the ship when I got there. I was trying to reel the sail in quickly and stuff, and it just coasted into the island and went crunch. And I didn't really know anything about the game at that stage, so I could hear the sort of glushing of water and stuff like that, and I was like panicking and pushing buttons, trying to stop it from sinking. What do I do? What do I do? And all I produced from my pocket was a banana. And then I sort of managed to leap overboard and scramble to the shore, but I'm still holding this banana. I've still got this piece of video somewhere, by the way, of this happening, the first time I ever played. I scrambled to the shore, and I'm holding this banana, and we watched the ship sink. Excuse me. And so from that moment, I was already hooked on the game, and I thought from that moment, this banana goes everywhere with me. So and when I started a Let's Play of Sea of Thieves, I came to the end of the episode, and I was a banana in my hand, and I was like, I called it Sunday, like fried, like Robinson Crusoe's Friday, I called him Sunday, like a banana Sunday, right? So, and I pulled the banana out the end of each thing, and I just came up with some ridiculous pirate yarn, right? And that became a thing, and I started doing that. And in Among Trees, they had a thing. every day you would wake up in your bed and it's this nice, gentle, sort of lilting music, and it would say day 17 or whatever, right? And I imagined some weird wilderness. As soon as I saw this, I was making a Let's Play and I'm just recording it, and it came up and I just went, day 17, my darling Felicity. And I just started to come up with stories. So like 1 minute at the beginning of each Let's Play was just Charles telling these ridiculous stories, which got more and more ridiculous and stupid each time. And, you know, Butch Dumar is just, he's kind of that gamer we all have in us. That sometimes you just want to kill everybody in the room. The game has driven you nuts and you just want to mow everyone down. So that's who he is. I enjoyed Among Trees because it's very chill, and I was playing the game as well. They just dropped the game. I know, they just dropped it completely in the middle of nowhere. Peak seems like an HJ type of game. Plenty of chaos to be had. It is, though I noticed distinct differences between my playstyle with Spiff or Lulu and my playstyle with SK. Here's the thing about HJ. At least my relationship with HJ and Matt's and Richard's. HJ is not a team player, right? Now, nothing wrong with that. Out in the real world, I'm not really a team player. I don't know. I don't imagine Matt really is much of a team player. I don't like team sports. I can be a team player if need be, but I don't particularly like it. But here's the thing, right? And this may shock some of you out there, but when I purchase a cooperative game to play with my friends, I expect... Here's Bongo! It always slightly perturbed me that it wasn't called Amongst Trees. I'm not sure of the grammar. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, so the thing is, like I said, HJ is not a team player in games, right? I'm not a team player out there in the world. But when I buy a cooperative game, I expect to cooperate with my friends, right? HJ doesn't do that. HJ's version of cooperating with his... HJ plays cooperative games like he's trying to win. That's what he does. He does at least with us. Maybe not with Spiff, maybe not with his other friends, right? But HJ basically plays video games, even cooperative games, like he's trying to win. Right? He wants to be the first person there. He wants to be the person that solves the riddle. He wants to be the person that finishes the thing first. He wants to get there. He wants to know things that everybody else doesn't. And that doesn't really work in a cooperative game. But it does work in videos and things when we play. Right? Because that it does create that chaos and it makes it kind of humorous. But that's... That's the problem. Playing any game with HJ like that is he's not really... He doesn't want to cooperate. He wants to win, even when it's a co-op game. So yeah, that doesn't work so well. But you know, there's lots and lots of games, but we always have fun playing together. I've said to people before, I think my friendship with HJ is probably one of the most complicated friendships I've ever had in my life, because I absolutely love him and would walk in front of traffic to save the dude. Like someone wishing to hurt him in some way, any one of us would stand in front of him and go, "Oh yeah, you got to go through us if you want to get to him, mate." Like there's just like I absolutely adore the guy. He's one of my best friends in the world, but I also kind of want to strangle him half the time. So it's complicated. Yeah, HJ is not a smell in the flowers kind of gamer. Not at all. He can't sit still for 5 minutes. He just can't do it. In my last Satisfactory series, I did a mock intro where the Pioneer was playing Subnautica. It backfired. People clicked off the video before it was far enough to reveal that it was Satisfactory. Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me about that, yeah. Like feeding you a lolly was essentially an act of sabotage. Well, it certainly was when I was standing away from any rocks on perfectly flat ground. It's like, what? That'd have been great if I suddenly had a massive long climb to make and you'd have gone, here, take a lick of this. But you didn't. You just fed me the lolly. I'm like, what the fuck? So yeah, The Ascent is back on Game Pass. Co-op game HJ won't be able to mess up. Oh, they tried to give me a code for The Ascent a while ago. A couple of years ago, they tried to give me a code for it, but I wasn't really interested in it. It didn't really interest me that much. Interesting stance, given the number of shirts dedicated to you betraying him or ignoring his sound advice in so-called co-op game. Ignoring HJ's sound advice or my sound advice? I don't understand. What? More sand. Yeah, it works. So, for entertaining sort of videos and stuff like that, HJ's driving particularly me and Matt up the wall. Because the thing is, he drives Richard nuts as well. But Richard is probably one of the most chill human beings you'll ever meet in your entire life. He doesn't rage about stuff generally. It's just not in him. What you'll get from Richard is you'll hear, and that's about it. That's the only way you'll know that he's pissed off. Occasionally Richard and I will go back and forth a bit, but we've known each other for a really long time. So, HJ and sound advice aren't something you'd normally see combined. He does generally. The thing is, I was trying to work this out with Jump Ship. I was like, because, like I said, he can't sit still for 2 minutes. He wants to win. He wants to be the first one there. The thing is, with Jump Ship, you can't do that, right? You can't just leave and get to the place before we get there. We are all stuck on that ship together. Same in Sea of Thieves. When we're on the ship in Sea of Thieves, he's always just trying to do things to wind everybody up because he's stuck there with us, right? Until we get to where we're going, there isn't anywhere for him to go. So instead, he gets all his pets out and he places them right in front of you on the wheel so you can't see what you're doing and stuff like that because he's stuck. And the same thing's true in Jump Ship, which is why in Jump Ship, he is the most valuable player because he is fixing everything, right? As we're piloting the ship and Matt's flying off shooting things in his little jetpack, stuff falls apart, it sets on fire, and HJ just fixes it. And he's you can hear him running around in the background. Really, without him, we'd be dead. But again, he's stuck there. He can't go anywhere, really. He can't get to the objective before we do. He's just stuck with us. Quite ironically, unable to jump ship. I mean, you can go outside in Jump Ship at any time. Except when you're in the middle of a jump. But anytime when you're you've reached the destination in missions, you can leave the ship anytime you want to. But there's not really anywhere to go or anything to do. We can't really kind of go and do those things. Plus, being the engineer in there plays into this. HJ's got to know more about what's going on than everybody else does, because he does in that. He knows, if we had to repair all the things now, even just after playing the demo for 20 odd hours, if we had to be in there by ourselves, that ship would explode inside of 30 minutes. Probably not even take that long. Because, he's learned his way around all these things, and we haven't had to do that. We've been doing other jobs. So now, if he left the ship, we'd die in no time at all, because we'd have to learn very quickly as everything was going tits up. That wouldn't work. So yeah, it's weird. Weirdly, Jump Ship is one of those where we've all assumed roles quite fast and are quite comfortable in them. I'm at the point in my life where I judge co-op games by whether or not you can couch co-op them. Yeah, I used to be like that as well, because of my whole social anxiety thing. I used to be all about couch co-op. Games I could play with my kids and stuff like that. I'm not stuck with you. You're stuck with me. You don't understand. You're not locked in. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. The Ascent isn't just co-op, it's cross-play and VoiceWorks cross-platforms. It's amazing, really. There won't be any cross-play in Jump Ship, unfortunately. No, there are no plans for any cross-play at all. So in order to play it with Richard, we've not only got to wait until the game comes out, we've got to wait until it comes out on console in order to play it with Richard. one of the few times HJ's boundless energy works for you and not against. Yeah. That's how I play as well. When I played SO2 with friends, I was always doing the whole plugging. SOT has always had crossplay. Sea of Thieves has had crossplay as long as I can remember. What it has nowadays, which it's had actually now for several years, but what it has nowadays is the option to opt out of crossplay. One of the things that drove Sea of Thieves players insane was that you were if you were using a controller, you were completely and totally hampered, as in a lot of games, against other players who were using mouse and keyboard. You just had no chance. So what they brought in a few years ago was a way to opt out. So that you were like, I only want to play with other people are playing with a controller. Is like literally, it doesn't say on Xbox or whatever, it just says with a controller. That's the thing. Jump Ship, me and Matt have assumed roles that I would say are not what people would expect for our personalities. No, not at all. Yeah, not at all. Yeah, Matt, as he would be the first to tell you, Matt, normally when we're in a vessel, he doesn't leave it. He stays behind, and like in Sea of Thieves, he stays on the ship. And as he always says, he hates going onto islands in Sea of Thieves. He hates it. So his main role, he's the helmsman, generally, in Sea of Thieves. The pecking order for helmsman basically just goes Matt does it, and then me if Matt's not available or he's AFK, assuming he's left the wheel before he's gone AFK, which he hasn't always, as HJ will tell you. But yeah, if he's away, you know, but yeah, Matt's usually the helmsman in Sea of Thieves. We don't, you know, and I run around doing all sorts of different things depending on what's necessary, usually firing cannons and things like that. But we all go ashore except Matt. Matt really hardly ever leaves the ship. It's very unusual that he sets foot ashore in Sea of Thieves. Helmsman, fisherman. I usually end up as the helmsman SOT. I also tend to stay on the ship. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do now then. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We are going to Shall we watch a game trailer? So I have a long list here. Every time I see a game that I might want to play on the channel, I scribble it down and I stick it to one of my millions and millions of post-its that just litter my desk. They're just all around my monitors and all over the desk and everywhere here. So every time I find one of those, every time I think there's one that I might want to play, I put it on here. So let's play some of those, shall we? So climbing games apparently are making a big thing at the moment. They're becoming they're having a bit of a renaissance, assuming that they were ever a thing to start with. I don't know, but certainly at the moment, Peak is definitely very funny, but playing it on your own is extremely frustrating. But this is, I'm sure most of you have seen this at some point on one of the games. This is Cairn.
Achieving real.
There you go. That's Cairn. Let's go back to that. There we go. The climbing looks super realistic mechanically. Yes, she's quite yelly. She is a bit yelly, yeah. It's probably outward sound when I scream on the way down. Do you think she's carrying Bing Bong in the backpack? No. Nor do I think she was carrying a bugle, HJ. It's a climbing game. It's basically just, you've just got to climb there is a story behind it, which I did read briefly about. There is a sort of story behind it, but it is essentially the whole game is just about climbing. It's pretty much just a puzzle game, really. Essentially, you've got to find ways to climb mountains, but apparently the climbing mechanic in it is supposed to be quite realistic. They've done quite a lot of research and put quite a lot into it. So that's one of them that I'm kind of thinking of playing. That's a single player, though. As far as I know, I don't think there's any co-op in her yelling as our reaction when we see tropics after climbing from shore. Oh. I was doing really well last night. I got through the shore really fast. In peak, this is. I got through shore really fast, and then I actually got through the tropics quite quickly. Considering how, I mean, that was just yesterday's map. So I guess I tried on a couple of maps earlier in the week, and I just kept dying, and it was driving me nuts. And I kept sort of rage quitting, which is not something I do. I'm not a rage quitter, but that game definitely drove me insane. I can't believe they made a rock climbing game. I prefer climbing in the Batman series, where I have a grappling hook. What attracted you to Cairn? I don't know, really. I did used to do a bit of climbing long time ago, though. I'm talking about when I was a teenager. I don't think that was it, though. I don't know. It just seemed interesting and different. You know, I like to explore games that are a little bit... You know that my main thing is, just exploring vast expanses of stuff in a vessel of some kind that I have to maintain. But I also like crazy, stupid physics games, the kind of stupid party games that you can kind of play online. And by the way, while we're on that subject, I cannot for the life in me understand why people keep making party games, and especially couch co-op games, for PC. But not for console. Like, who invites couch co-op specifically, I'm talking about. Who invites the mates over or sits down with the kids and gets the PC? Like, no, who does that? No, anyway, I think they're sort of missing out a lot. Spiff escaped last night without losing consciousness. She escaped. Like, Pete. Come sit around my desk, guys. I think it's because they slap it on a laptop. How can you have social anxieties but enjoy? Well, when I say I enjoy party games, I'm not talking about playing with a bunch of people I don't know. I'm talking about the kind of games that are funny. Because what I do like more than anything in the world is to laugh. That is just my favorite thing. It always has been. Like, and I if I can make other people laugh, great. But I like to laugh more than anything else. She got out of Caldera. Wow. Yeah. So when I say party games, I'm not talking about the kind of game like. Oh God, there's been a bunch over the last few years, and I can't remember half the names of them. But in the last few years, there's been a whole bunch of them. They're not my thing, but. Stuff like Human Fall Flat and things like that. I love playing those because they're just stupid, and there's a lot of laughter. I have been trying for a while now to get all the guys back together, to get the red shirts back together, to play Totally Reliable Delivery Service. Simply because the last time I played that on stream with Matt, HJ, and KZ, not Richard. Richard wasn't playing with us then. But the last time I played it with those three, I laughed harder than I think I've ever laughed during a single gaming session of anything. And that includes the Red Dead road trip that we did, where it was just absolutely insane. I've re-downloaded it. Totally reliable delivery service. Yeah, the only reason I want to play that on stream is just because I hurt myself laughing the last time we played that on stream. But that was Matt and HJ and KZ. I think I was on stream. I don't know if I just recorded it, if it was on stream. I think it was on stream. Just waiting. Yeah, I know. But now you see, this is the thing. You know, when I talk about, yes, you hear me do a lot of moaning about HJ. Generally, that's because A, he likes to wind us up, and B, because he is the one that is most often free. He's the one that's always willing to kind of do whatever. And he always, he'll download the game and he'll sit, and he's always willing. He turns up. But the other two are harder to corral together. Richard, because Richard's type of video games, Richard has a pretty narrow focus on video games that he enjoys. We're all pretty certain he'll like Jump Ship, but there's a whole wealth of video games that we like to play. HJ loves his real-time strategies and grand strategy games and stuff like that. Matt loves things like Farming Simulator and stuff like that. I like games that are just stupid, crazy, idiotic physics games, and all kinds of just games that are a little bit different, like Cairn and stuff like that. I like to experiment, but Richard doesn't really care for those. What he likes is close quarters combat and shooting stuff, and preferably meleeing stuff to death. And he loves that. Preferably in a medieval fantasy setting, but he's up for pretty much anything as long as he gets to wail on stuff with a sword or an axe or a hammer. Loves it. But he doesn't We're also looking at Helldivers 2 because of the Xbox announcement. We are only looking at Helldivers 2. I want to clarify this. We're only looking at Helldivers 2 because it has now been so long since I played a game with Richard, who is one of my oldest friends on the planet. Well, my oldest friend on the planet that I still talk to. But it's been so long since I played a game with him because he is restricted, bless him, by he only has an Xbox. So he's restricted to things that come out on the Xbox that we can all afford and all want to play, and that he's interested in playing. So that really narrows it down quite a lot. Excuse me. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, when HJ says begrudgingly, it's like, I have no interest in playing Helldivers 2, but it's slightly better than a lot of the other suggestions and is the sort of thing that Richard will enjoy. So it really is only so that I can hang out with Richard a bit. Because until Jump Ship comes to console, we won't play that with him. So, it's just because it's been a while since I hung out with him. We're saddened that there aren't more couch co-op games for console, and they even took it out of Halo. Yeah, I was never a big fan of Halo, to be honest. It was not really my thing. I tried it several times just because of how popular they were, and I never really cared for it. So yeah. But yeah, as far as what attracted me to Cairn, be warned, SKF, for HJ Chaos with backpack nukes in Helldivers 2. Oh, look. Whatever it is that he does. The thing is, HJ, all of a sudden, HJ just took off and they're like, yeah! And Richard was like, we're going to do this, we're going to play this. I was like, hang on. I'm not saying I'll make this a regular thing. What I'm saying is, if it comes to Xbox in some manner that I can afford it, or it comes to Game Pass or something like that, then I might consider it if it's the only way I get to play with Richard. And it'll just be every now and again. This will definitely not be a regular thing, I don't think. Right, so let me see what else I've got on this here list. So, let's see. There's a lot of things on here. I'm just deciding. So, one of them that we will obviously play and that you'll definitely see me play just because of how much I love. Aku, how you doing, buddy? How are you, my friend? I played a bit of Tiny Tina's Wonderland recently because it was free on Epic. I'm sure it's fun in co-op. It has melee, guns, and fantasy. Yeah, so one of the things that I guess... I think HJ, more so than anybody else, is kind of starting to get an idea when I might like a game. Because it's quite a wide spectrum of things that I enjoy. Now, if you look on my Steam list, you can see that most of them are kind of, it's like Lost Skies, Forever Skies, Jump Ship. It's all... The first few that you see on there are all games, or at least the games I've put more time into are all games where, as I say again and again and again, are all games where I have a vessel that I have to take care of and can explore. So most of them are like that. But other than those, there's like a whole spectrum of games, and it's sometimes difficult to understand. Like Mike said, what attracted you to Cairn? It's sometimes difficult to understand it's difficult for me to understand what's going to make me check out a game. I look out for games so you have a vehicle to take care of now, not even for me. Wonderland is good if you like the Borderlands formula. I'm suffering from some very wet weather over the last week. Shoes are wet and socks are stinky. It's Borderlands expanding on a great D&D based DLC. Well, so here is one. Let's see. I'll just punch this up. So let's go back to this screen. Here is one that I will definitely play, and I really hope to get the guys involved because I played the first one to death.
I told you, you can't run from me, you foul beast! With new flexible legs, the Yoke Girth action figure can ride anything!
Breaking news. There's been an explosion at Brook Hollow Park. Chaos descended on a ceremony commemorating the 2-year anniversary of when 4 teenagers were miniaturized against their will and left to fight for their survival in the backyard of a deranged scientist. Formerly evil company Ominent Practical Technologies was set to dedicate a statue of the 4 teenagers, fast food science robot Burgle, and Dr. Tully when an explosion erupted. Dr. Tully and the teenagers' current whereabouts are also unknown.
You gotta keep them separated.
There we go. Grounded 2. So you guys will remember, I'm sure some of you will remember how much I played the original Grounded. Also +1 for the Offspring. Yeah, so Grounded kind of sucked me in a way I didn't really expect at all. I went absolutely crazy for Grounded. I played it to death. I just went absolutely nuts for it. The guys were trying to get me to play all sorts of other things, and I was just completely wrapped in Grounded for months and months. And I played it a few times on the stream, and I played it a few times on live stream, and I played it with others a few times on stream. So it was the building mechanics more than anything else for me. I really, really kind of loved building stuff in that, which is weird because the thing is about Grounded, it struck the right balance. Yes, I got wrapped up in the building of the thing, but it also had the building was balanced in such a way that it didn't suck me completely away from the game. So I still played through the game, and I still wanted to upgrade and improve things and stuff like that. So, and it was structured in such a way that really worked. Ground has some of the best survival game mechanics ever. Yes, agreed. Craft from storage right out of the box. Yep. Yeah, it was brilliant, and I really loved it. It got so many of those things right. But for me, one of the things that really kind of that sucked me in was that, as you know, I don't generally play horror games, right? Not because they're scary. I think you guys watching me being terrified is probably hilarious. I think that's quite funny. It's not that. It's just that most horror games are dark and dreary and depressing, and that I don't like. I don't like the darkness. But this, of course, isn't billed as a horror game at all. It's quite funny. But I maintain that Grounded was the most terrifying game that was released that year. You know, I'm not afraid of spiders, but when they're the size of a high school, yes, I'm afraid of spiders. So yeah, when you would turn around like that, and all of a sudden the wolf spider would go towering above you, like Jesus. So yeah, there was a lot of that. It was like I weren't. I mean, playing that with Matt and HJ and KZ, and I think we played with Matt and HJ and Richard once or twice on the stream. The arachnophobe mode did make them more terrifying. Yeah, I was like, what did you think was good? Because there's a mode in Grounded. For those of you who don't know, there's a slider so that you can turn down. If you're an arachnophobe, you can turn it down, and it just turns these gigantic wolf spiders into floating orbs. They still make all the same noises and everything. It just turns them into floating orbs that go. It's like the shapeless kind of. No, horrible, horrible, horrible things. Now you're able to ride the spiders. Grounded VR. Oh, dearie me. I would love to play more VR games, but firstly, I don't have a VR headset. Secondly, I suffer quite badly from motion sickness. And thirdly, in order for it to be funny, I think it'd have to involve the other guys as well, and that would mean they'd all have to have the same setup. So, only ants and orb weavers at game preview release. Yeah. So yeah. Still remember the time you climbed on top of a pile of leaves, dropped down, and completely lost it because you. Oh yeah, that's still out there. I think that video is still, and it's probably still in the Discord. I think I did make a short of that and put it on YouTube. The moment where basically what happened was that I climbed on top of a pile of leaves and everything was quiet and I hadn't really seen anything for a while. And I climbed on top of a pile of leaves and I'm stood there trying to work out where to go next. And I'm like, right, I was like. I thought I climbed on top of like a little hill with some leaves on it, and then I realized I was climbing on top of a pile of leaves, and I was stood on top of it, and I kind of looked around and I said, why does this pile of leaves make me nervous? So I dropped down to the side of the pile of leaves to get off it, turned around, and as I turned around, a wolf spider went, and I was like, Jesus Christ! So yeah, I absolutely shit myself and ran and hyperventilated quite a bit. But there is a short of that. You can find it on the channel. I'll put it in the Discord when we've done here. Satisfactory has watching other players play VR is boring, generally speaking, yeah. Replace all the bad guys' voices with the red shirts lines. Well, I find Hummy's VR is quite fun because they've kind of really sort of got into that. They've kind of really leaned into the whole VR aspect, and they really what works about VR, watching it on a live stream, maybe not quite so much, but what works with VR for me is that you get to sort of gesture a little bit. And that really works for games in which you're kind of, if you're making an edited video like in character. That really works, I find, in VR. But you know. What did the wolf spider do again? What you want to think? Yeah, it's way more scary when it did it. It was for me anyway. But yeah, it's like Matt had the best description of this game because I was playing it one time, and when I was doing the undershed bit, that was terrifying. Like all these terrifying things out there. But the thing is, it's a bright, colourful game. So I don't mind that I'm scared out of my wits. That's just funny. That doesn't bother me at all. It's the dark, depressing dinginess of most horror games that I can't stand. That's why I don't play them, because they're just depressing. But Grounded, is bright and colourful, and it scares the crap out of you. And I remember talking to him about the undershed bit, and he said he was writing in the Red Shirts chat. He said Obsidian did not need to go that hard with this game. I remember his description of it, of the meeting there, was like, he says, "Hey, look, let's make a nice, colourful, kid-friendly game like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, right? And let's make it bright and colourful and cartoony and fill it with nightmare fuel." I just thought, I've never heard such an apt description of Grounded ever in my life. It's like someone just snorting a line of coke halfway through cover and going, "Let's just fill it with nightmare fuel." And it cracked me up, that, because I thought, yes, perfect, absolutely spot on. They did not need to go that hard with that game. But I am really looking forward to playing Grounded 2. Somebody please clip that. Well, that's Matt's words, not mine, but it did make me laugh. What else have we got on this list then? So let's have a look. What else? So we've got there's a sequel to that. Oh, I know. Wait, hang on. So here's one. Skip it. So here's one that I'm not really sure about. I'm not all that certain what it's about, but it is, of course, it's another Floating Islands game, because apparently they're all the rage at the moment. So we've got another Floating Islands game besides Aloft and Lost Skies and all the other stuff that's come out for those kind of things at the moment. We've got another one here. So I am interested in this game. There you go. That's Atmosphere, which gives me... That's like... What I get from that is it's like Revenge of the Savage Planet meets Lost Skies. So yeah, I'm really interested in that. And I'm gonna... There's not a lot about it yet. But, you could find out a little bit more about it online. But that's one of those on my list kind of put there. And it's definitely one that I'd be interested in. Seems like my kind of thing. So, I don't know. It did seem as though it was going to be co-op as well, which should be fun. I don't know. What do you guys think? With a pinch of Astroneer. Oh, right, yeah. Light No Fire is also promising. Yes, just reminded me of that. Yes, Light No Fire is on this list. The reason I haven't queued up a trailer for that is because, pretty much everyone's seen that, I think. But yeah, so talk about Atmosphere among yourselves for a moment. I'll be right back.
This is a reminder to all crew members that Lieutenant Cropper is not permitted the key to the munitions locker under any circumstances. Crew members who survived the recent atmospheric purge aboard the UDF Fiasco will be entitled to a free coffee refill in the cafeteria this afternoon. The award ceremony to celebrate Ensign Hill's second week alive aboard the UDF Fiasco has now been cancelled. UDF Fiasco crew members, please remember to sign insurance waivers before boarding.
There is also ahoy, says HJ. Yes, and ahoy is in fact on this list. So here we go. This now this is just the cinematic trailer for Ahoy. I can, if you like, I can dig out the sort of longer trailer where they're kind of really talking about it in depth. It's like 20-minute long, but Ahoy is another Seabound game. So let's switch you over for that.
Every voyage begins with a plan. A vision etched on parchment, foretelling glory or downfall. It is in our nature to conquer what others fear. Death and dishonor, fame and fortune. The life of a sea captain is one of duty and relentless pursuit. True riches are not in gold and jewels, but in the stories we bring back and the legend we become. But never at our final destination. So we chart our next course. We sail. We fight. We endure. For the voyage is life. And life is the voyage. Join the crew today on Kickstarter.
So there you go. That's just a brief look at Ahoy, but that is, of course, the cinematic trailer. It doesn't really show you any of the gameplay. The game that you're talking about, Mike, I believe you're talking about Crosswind. So Ahoy, like Crosswind, in fact, but Ahoy is going to be a PvPvE game. I think it's PvPvE. It's not just PvE. I think it is PvPvE game. But it's much more kind of, they're missing an end at the end of the ship's name. But yeah, Crosswinds is what you're thinking of, yeah. Crosswind, which is here. Let's cue that up. There you go, Crosswind. Yeah, basically, Crosswind just basically looks like Sea of Thieves, essentially. Yeah, New World, I guess I can see how you got there. Yeah, I haven't played Enshrouded, but yeah, I can see SOT meets New World, I guess, probably. But definitely just seems like the Sitting Duck is going to get another game to sort of go into there, I think. I have seen Spacecraft, yes. I have seen Spacecraft. I didn't put the trailer of that on the shopping list here because, well, simply because the first trailer basically tells you nothing at all about the game, and the only trailer that does is the more involved sort of Kickstarter trailer that they made, which is really sort of long and in depth, but shows you a little bit of the gameplay. Sand is on there. Sand we can do. That's on the shopping list. It's right when I can find it. There we go. But Sand, yeah. Sand is exactly the kind of game that I play, except it is PvP. It is a PvP game, so there is that. But yeah, let's do that. There you go. I don't, to be honest, right? They're just something I look out for because SK likes those games really. But Sand, again, it's like Sand is everything. Everything is compared to Sea of Thieves in that kind of genre now. In my, what's my favorite genre of game really? Survival games with vehicles, survival exploration games with vehicles, I guess. Wild West vibes, yeah. But yeah, it's essentially that's. If Jump Ship is Sea of Thieves in space, then Sand is Sea of Thieves on sand. Sea of Thieves in the desert, really, is what that amounts to. Because it's just a PvPvE game where you just got sandwalkers instead of... A lot like Last Oasis was... I don't know if anybody here remembers that. Last Oasis was a little bit like that. Star Rupture. No, I haven't. I haven't that one. But we've got... let's see. Let's move on from those kind of games a minute. Oh, we got The Expanse, Osiris Reborn, which is, single player for fans of The Expanse, which I was. We got Rooted. Right, okay. Yeah. Now, Rooted has actually been coming out for quite a while. I was sold on Sand because it's set in an alternate reality with the alternate Austro-Hungarian Empire. And he has a soft spot for the Habsburg. Ooh. Right. Bloody ads. Just got to get rid of the ads. We're doing second-hand ads, yeah. So, here we go. Rooted.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for your incredible support. We've reached nearly 1 million wish lists on Steam. Thanks to you, Rooted is growing and evolving smoothly. Today, I'm excited to showcase the Alpha Session 2 update, a major step forward in the game's development. Let's dive in and see what's new. As we move into Phase 2, the world of Rooted is becoming larger and more immersive. The open world now features points of interest like the mansion, monastery, gas station, the bunker, and more ready to explore. About 95% of what you see here is made by our artists. In these places, we've created a special atmosphere based on the lore we wrote for Rooted. You can cross devastated areas as well as clean environments. The reason is simple. Some survivors live there, and these survivors are not friendly at all. They are enemies who have banded together and organized themselves to survive, so definitely action will come. But that's not all. More POIs are in development, including the resort, observatory, zoo, and watchtower. I've decided to let these areas remain in the world so our founders can see how the development evolves, and they've really appreciated that. Previously, during Phase 1 of the alpha, players were confined to the monastery. Now, they have access to approximately 30 km square of terrain, vastly expanding the scope and possibilities within the game world. This expansion reflects our commitment to rich and scalable gameplay, offering players not only a vast open world, but also deep, lore-driven immersion. Hey, just a quick word. From the very beginning, our community has been supporting the development of Rooted. If you too would like to support the team, you can add Rooted to your Steam wishlist and pledge the game on our official website. Everything you need to join us can be found on rootedthegame.com, Steam, and Epic Games Store. Your support is truly appreciated. Thank you. Now, let's talk about gameplay features. We've also added some exciting survival gameplay features. First, build and craft. You can now build anything from a small survival cabin to an expensive camp if you know how to handle an axe. The building system allows you to create structures, furniture with storage elements, and resource transport tools. Additionally, we've included 4 exclusive garden furniture items for our founders as a special thank you. So, thank you! You get also survival essentials like campfires and an entire water collection and treatment system. And finally, there's a first gameplay module, but I won't reveal more about it just yet. Stay tuned. Next, infection mechanics. This adds intensity and realism to survival. Infection dynamics force you to balance exploration and safety, as every encounter with the infected carries risks. Managing infection becomes a crucial part of the survival loop, requiring attention to resources and cures. And finally, weather system. The weather in Rooted is dynamic and immersive. Using UDS technology, we've enhanced it with detailed management systems that impact players and the environment. Weather conditions add an entirely new layer of survival challenges. Alpha testers already need to be cautious of the cold, lighting campfires, wearing appropriate clothing, or staying indoors to avoid succumbing to harsh elements. This is only the beginning, and we're thrilled about what's coming next in weather mechanics. Now, let's talk about cool gameplay features. Ziplines add dynamic verticality to the game, allowing you to traverse landscapes quickly and escape dangerous situations. For now, alpha testers can enjoy a zipline that lets them fly over a beautiful lake, but in an upcoming update, you'll be able to create your own ziplines and use them wherever you want, opening up endless strategic and exploration possibilities. Drones act as a valuable tool for reconnaissance, enabling you to scout ahead, plan your route, and locate resources or threats. They add a layer of tactical gameplay to survival. Additionally, the drone system will be reworked in the future to ensure better performance on less powerful PC. Physical carts and forklifts bring a sense of realism and utility, letting you transport heavy resources or supplies across the world. Forklifts even add a unique touch to industrial areas and logistical challenges. These tools are physics-based, and we've already seen some hilarious videos shared on our Discord server by alpha testers. Keep them coming, we love seeing your creativity in action. Looking ahead, phase 3 of the alpha is already in development and will introduce features like hunting, fishing, gardening, alongside improvements to existing systems. Join us now, play the alpha, share your feedback, and be part of the Rooted's evolution. Thank you for your support, and let's keep going.
Yeah, you really need to stop saying verklift. Too much survival. Not too sure about the drones either. No, I'm not completely sold on Rooted yet. It's just one of those I've kind of got my eye on. You know, there are quite a few on this. Actually, some of them I haven't queued up because, like, the one. So one of the games that I haven't queued up, simply because it doesn't really show you the game. It was just a reveal, and it was 4 years ago, and since then they've said nothing, is Contraband. Simply because it's basically, it's a bit like one of the games I've always dreamed that someone would make. Not even too much survival, too many intricacies to the survival. Yeah. I mean, you know, I guess we'll see. But yeah, one of the games that's coming up that I really really want them to make is because, firstly, it is the perfect world that I think would work really, really well for the red shirts or dead weights or whatever we're going to call ourselves now. But it's also because it's made by one of my favorite developers of all time, which is Avalanche, right? So they made Gen Z, of course, which we played a lot. And of course, they made what is possibly my favorite gaming franchise ever, Just Cause. So they made the Just Cause series, and they made Gen Z, and I absolutely love the games that they produce. And they're making Contraband, which is basically, it's a cooperative game about smuggling in Colombia or somewhere like that, you know. So yeah, there's I'm waiting for that, but that was, did we ever check out the final update for Gen Z? No, I don't think so. I did not. No, I certainly didn't, because, you know, I might have. I'm trying to remember if I've been back into Gen Z at all since that update killed my Xbox that time. But have we been back into it at all? I don't know if I have. I can't remember. Gen Z bricked my last Xbox. It did, yeah. Yep. I mean, it was obviously on its way out already, But Gen Z... Does contraband have an anal capacity stat for transporting goods across the border? No, it's not that kind of smuggling. It's not like you're a mule or something. I think it's like just Christ. Let's yeah, no. So yeah, I did put Light No Fire actually on this list. I didn't think I had queued it up, but I did put Light No Fire on here. But then of course, I think the reason I wasn't too bothered about showing that is because I'm pretty sure everybody knows what's coming from that now. So that was Rooted. Oh, so yeah, that's why I got that confused with Prologue, which is a similar thing. I'm not going to show you that one either because it's another exploration survival game, very much like that one is. But that's from Prologue is from PlayerUnknown, so it's been made by the original developers of PUBG, but it's a single-player survival. Space Trash Scavenger. Actually, Space Trash Scavenger does remind me of another game I've got on the list here. I think this is due for... Oh, crap. No. Go back. Will you stop doing that? Stop. Stop it, YouTube. Stop it. Bad YouTube. Tells the lore of PUBG. What, Prologue, does it? I didn't know that. I haven't looked into it that deeply, but yeah. But yes, a single player Prologue. So here is a game that I was the same. PUBG has lore. Like, yeah, apparently. There you go. But yeah, here's another game that I did play the demo of, and it is great. I played the first game. This is a sequel. I played the first one, and it was great fun for a really short space of time. And I'm really hoping this one is going to be a bit better, a bit more involved. From what I played of the demo, it was a lot better, but we'll see. So let's see.
You've been waiting 4 long years. Intergalactic wars, thousands of hours of cutscenes, over 11,000 pages of dialogue. All of this is not in the demo.
Yes, Breathedge 2, yes. Well, I played it, Vilk. I did actually play it years ago. I played it for a few hours, and then it kind of lost its sheen a little bit, because it was quite limiting, but it looks like the second one will probably expand on it a little bit. But just for the sheer idiocy and stupidity of this game, I'll definitely be playing this on the channel. I played all the way through the demo. Or actually bugged out in the very last thing I had to do on the demo. It kind of bugged out a bit. But other than that, yeah, I played through. It was only a demo, so I played through the whole thing, and it was great. Review said like the first half was great, then it transitioned. The second half was terrible. Yeah, it was. It kind of lost its sheen a little bit. I kind of loved the direction it seemed to be going, and then it never really went there. So hopefully, you know, this is a lot better. And from what I played of the demo, it was great. I had a great time playing the demo. You know, and I put, I don't know, a few hours into it, I think, anyway. Before I completed all the things that you had to do in it. But yeah, it's great fun. So I'm pretty sure you'll see that on the channel. What else we got on here? So we've done Crosswind and Cairn and Ahoy and Atmosphere, Breath Edge 2 and Sand. There's the Long Dark 2. Of course, we've done the Grounded 2. We've talked about Light No Fire. We've done Rooted. And here's one. Second half wasn't terrible. It just rendered the base you'd been building in the first half completely pointless. I honestly can't remember much about it except that it kind of never really went anywhere. It never really went in the direction I expected it to keep going. It kind of flattened out. So that might be what I experienced, was that. It changes from a survival game about halfway through. It makes sense if folks are looking specifically for that. It wouldn't like the second half as much. Yeah. So that's... I do remember that vaguely about the first game, was that I liked the direction it was going, and then it just stopped going there. But I just have vague recollections of kind of what caused me to stop playing it. So that sounds about right. But it was funny. It was definitely fun. While it lasted, it was funny, but then it kind of just, you know, petered out and flattened out, and I didn't really care for it much. Now, this game, I'm not really... You've got to try to bear in mind that a lot of these games, when I first put them on here, when I first put them on the list, it was because I was watching some game show or something like that, and I could remember what they were about. But since then, they've just been sat here on the list, and I had to look them up and go, what is that? What is this about? So this is one that I've completely forgotten what this game is about. It is honestly the only one on here that I've completely forgotten what it was about. Like, I can't remember, but it's because it's at the top of the list. I'm like, why do I keep putting that on stuff? I should really go back and remind myself what the hell this game was about. So, I don't know. Right. Check it out.
All I can see, zeros and ones. I'm running out of time. Running out of... I see the ghost feeding on mostly its old friendly foes. I see it go, creeping so slowly. I see the ghost.
I will find you, wherever you are.
I see it go, creeping so slowly. I see the
Father?
So that is Will Follow the Light. It seems to be some sort of mystery game, and I knew what it was when I wrote it down because they were explaining what it was on wherever it was that I saw it. But this is why I write all these down, because otherwise, all of a sudden, these games I've been looking forward to, people go, "Oh, did you play that since it came out?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, I forgot that was a thing." So I just write them down, but I like completely just can't even remember. I had that pegged to Stardew Valley 2. But that might be one of those games that's too dark and depressing for me to bother with. I don't know, but we'll have to sort of look more at that and stuff. But what else? So there's a bunch on here that I didn't put on simply because the trailers, a bit like that one really, don't give anything about the game away, or they're really short and they don't tell you anything. The original Spacecraft trailer was one of those. The trailer didn't tell you anything at all about what the game was about. Didn't show you any gameplay, didn't give you any indication of what it was about. Now we know that it's a, space survival, crafting, exploration kind of thing. A bit like, I suppose a little bit, Spacecraft has a little bit of No Man's Sky to it, it seems to. The original Legends of Zelda told you absolutely nothing. There weren't even any screenshots. But wait a second. Now I've got to look this up because here's a game that I wanted to recommend to the guys because wait a second. Right. So I wanted to recommend this to HJ and Matt and Richard simply because it's definitely the kind of game that Richard would enjoy. Here we go.
It means the world has ended. Welcome to Gun Touchables. It's not a game, it's a state of mind. It's about having such a cool gun, you're untouchable. That's why they call it Gun Touchables. Collect crates in the wasteland to help you kick more ass. But your enemies are getting upgraded too, and that's where things heat up. So get ready to blow stuff up, and smack stuff with a shovel, and shred stuff with a bone saw, and snipe stuff. Survival is about sticking together. It's about getting badass guns and even more badasser upgrades. It's about killing whatever this thing is. Because here in the apocalypse, you're up against a million maniacal mutants that want nothing more than to pound you into hamburger meat. There's only one way to survive, and that's to become Gun Touchable. Coming to early access on June 17th.
What if you could duplicate yourself?
So yes, that is actually in early access game. An early access game, it's a bit crazy, but the problem with me saying Richard would certainly love that is that Richard doesn't have a PC. So it's coming to Steam Early Access. No idea if it's ever coming to console. It does seem like a game that would get swallowed up on console. It seems like people would just love it, but who knows? There's some really, really crazy stuff. There is, of course. Now, you may know about me, and you may not, that I am a bit of a Bond fanboy. The boss worm could use some medical attention, right? So, yeah, I'm a bit of a Bond fan. Have been all my life. I don't know why. I'm not generally an action movie geek, but the Bond franchise I've always been a fan of. And, of course, the makers of the Hitman series are now making a Bond game, 007 First Light. It's like a prequel to the Bond series, this game. So it's like showing 007 when he's very young and sort of. So yeah, the creators of Hitman are making a Bond game and have been working on it for quite a while now. So 007 First Light is coming. Hitman with hair, yes. Sure. So there's that. Was the announcer trying to do a Bruce Campbell voice? Yeah, he did seem a bit Brucey, didn't he? Bless him. Good old Bruce Campbell. 007 versus 47. Yeah. It has the pedigree. They shouldn't fuck it up. Well, you hope not, wouldn't you? Really. As a group of guys that sort of grew up playing GoldenEye and, stuff like that. But they basically, I saw in the interview they were talking about how they poured their love of Bond into the Hitman series and just made it a bit different. But like they really wanted to make, so when they were offered the opportunity to make a Bond game, they sort of jumped at it. So yeah, see what happens. See what happens. Now there's also Under a Rock, but that strikes me as a little bit too Journey to the Savage Planet, really. similar sort of thing, but just not in space. There's a bunch of other stuff on here that I've kind of, the Long Dark 2 I haven't sort of played you the trailer to, because, anyone familiar with the Long Dark will know what that's like. And it's not, from what I've seen, doesn't seem vastly different than the first one. But that would seem to work with the way the Long Dark is, because it is just a series of chapters of a story. So this would just be more chapters of it, maybe slightly improved gameplay and graphics, but we'll see. But graphically, it was not. That's not really what it was about. Graphic fidelity is not really what that game was about. But maybe they've made some. I've streamlined it a bit in places and improved it a bit, I would think. But that doesn't come out till next year, and it's called HJ. Remind me, Black Frost. Is it? I can't remember. Black Frost, I think. Yeah, and that's supposed to be coming next year. But yeah, Black Frost. So yeah, there's lots of stuff coming to the channel, and I really do I am looking for a game that I can do Let's Plays of, but I've tried it twice recently. And of course, as you know, those who've been around a while will know that that's all I ever used to do at one time. But I found it difficult to get back into it because I keep kind of picking games that don't really work. And I made that mistake before when I played We Happy Few, which was the second Let's Play that I ever made on the channel. And I hated it, but because I'd committed to playing it, I just kind of kept going with it till the end. And I absolutely hated it. I thought it was awful. And I played it from beginning to end and uploaded the whole of the Let's Play series. But I was so glad when it was over, and I was determined not to do that again. So if I play a game now, even if I don't hate it, because like The Alters is brilliant. And I actually really was enjoying Atomfall as well. They just didn't really work for the sort of Let's Play I was after. So, we'll see. It's been nice to sit around and chat, but genuinely should be editing my video. DaVinci has been open in the background this entire time. Well, it's been nice for you to spend this time with us, Velk. Good to see you. Take care. Happy editing. Speaking of fucking up, they just fired the Subnautica 2 leadership team. Yeah, and brought in Dead Space and Calypso Protocol leadership. Yeah, I heard that earlier. Long Dark is good because they allow you to turn off the character voice. Well, the Long Dark is what... Long Dark is where Charles is going next. I already have the scene sort of all set up for him to sort of move from... Okay, so with my character playthroughs, I'm kind of trying to tie them to the Let's Plays in that I'm sort of building a universe in my head that ties a lot of these characters together so that they all, even though they're all in different video games, a lot of these characters sort of share the same universe. And there's a way that Charles's experience is different than Hopeless the Adventurer, which is the sort of... Hopeless the Adventurer is what I will go back to calling, like I did with Kingdom Come Deliverance, kind of what I will go back to playing my regular Let's Plays when I sort of make them, and I just kind of, they'll just be edited Let's Plays. But instead of just recording, what I used to do was record for an hour at a time. And when I used to make Let's Plays, I used to record for an hour at a time, and then I would edit that, and I would stop there, find a natural stopping point at around about an hour of play, and then I would stop, and I would edit that down to about 20 to 30 minutes of gameplay. So I'd cut out all the sort of long-winded me sorting through inventories and all of that stuff. I would cut all that out. But what I'm sort of trying to do now with Let's Plays, which might be why it doesn't have that same feeling to it yet, but I'll get the hang of it again. What I'm trying to do now is record much longer sections and bring it down so that it's much more... Bring it down again to about half an hour, maybe a bit longer, maybe up to an hour from like 5 or something like that at a time. But make a Let's Play so that it doesn't run for months and months and months like my Let's Plays used to. I'm trying to record longer periods and then condense them a lot more into just moments that I kind of want to include in the Let's Play, so that you get a Let's Play that takes place over 3 episodes, or 4 or 5 tops. 5 at the absolute top end, and just keep the Let's Play series quite short. But in my mind, that character that it was just me doing a Let's Play, really, shares the same universe as Charles. And once I get Charles to move the video that moves Charles from among trees into the long dark will allow you to, well, I guess as long as I do follow up with the Let's Plays as well, will allow you to see how they share the same universe. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on there. But the problem is that the one thing I've always been above all other things, you know, I always wanted to be a pilot, and I always wanted to be a filmmaker. They were the two things that stood up above all other things. But I've wanted to do lots and lots of different things in my life, and I have done lots of different things, and I've experimented with all sorts of different forms of creativity, from drawing to animation to filmmaking to music, and just all manner of things that I've done over the years, you know, with wood turning, prop building, set building, 3D 3D design. I created a whole bunch of I created a whole spacecraft in 3D SketchUp, but I never really got the hang of Blender, and it's one of the things on my list to kind of really get the hang of it and dive deep into it. But the problem is that AI is catching up so fast now that pretty soon you'll be able to do, well, you can now for the most part do like 2-dimensional drawings of things, and it'll just work out the 3D. So, you know, I don't think it's going to be super long until it makes a lot of 3D designers obsolete also, which is a shame, because that's a lot of fun, and I used to love doing that, and I used to love, you know, building props and sets. I've done all these things, right? But the one thing that I have always been that ties almost everything I've ever done together is that I'm a storyteller. So I can't help doing that. When I play Let's Plays, I can't help creating the characters, and those are the areas where I sort of really dive into, and that's the sort of thing that separates me from a lot of other, not all, there's lots of people that do that, but it separates me from a lot of the other people out there. And I always try to make it, you know, comedy. I almost try to make it lighthearted. I don't like anything that's a bit too heavy like that. But what a lot of you may not know, because I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I tried really hard to sort of never make this too public. But when I started the gaming channel, when I was trying to justify my reasons for doing it, because Amki's always been really, really supportive when I've done with the gaming channel. Finding games that allow you to create stories is the trickiest part. It is. And finding games that allow me to excuse me, finding games that allow me to that give me a lot of creative control, like with camera angles and stuff like that. That's kind of what I really am looking for. It's a game that I enjoy and has that element of creative freedom. That I'd absolutely love to do. But they're really hard to find. Extremely hard. Games that give you any element of creative freedom like that are kind of difficult to find for the most part anyway, but ones that I like and fit in with the characters I'm trying to create, like, almost non-existent. But yeah, Amki has always been really, really supportive of me trying to make the gaming channel. And when I was toying with the idea, you know, I'd already been on YouTube for a long time, for like 11 years by the time I made Knights Arcade. And when I went into that, she's always been very supportive, and she was the one that said to me, look, if you're going to do this, do it, right? Don't tinker with it, you know, don't play with it, just throw yourself into it and do it 100%. And like, you know, then we had that mad spike in popularity for about a year following the KCD review that changed the nature of the channel, really, because I just went with the flow and thought and did what people wanted to. But one of the ways I justified it to myself is that I write, not just the stories that I come up with in video games, but I also write, short stories. And this behemoth of a thing, covered in dust now because it's been sat there for ages. I have lots of copies of this, lots of hard copies of it. But this is that is the first novel I ever wrote, but I wrote it a long time ago. A long time ago. And the problem with it is that I wrote that book just before the world changed in lots of important ways that tied into the book. In other words, it wasn't written with a great deal of foresight, because the world, technology and the world changed dramatically in ways that make the book kind of harder to swallow now, especially for a younger audience. You wouldn't be able to. It's a comedy fantasy, and you wouldn't really be able to. The kind of things that happen in the book, there are some things that wouldn't really work, and it'd be difficult to sell that to a younger audience now because they weren't around when the world was like that. And it's not really a period piece; it's supposed to be sort of contemporary. The book is filled. Well, one of the main things that is a central element to the change of pace, a central element to the first act of the book revolves around I don't want to give too much away, but revolves around the inability to communicate and do certain things, which unfortunately this invention, which came very shortly after the book's second or third draft was completed, this invention made a lot of what I wrote in there utter nonsense now. And because it's supposed to be contemporary, I kind of keep meaning to go writing nearly anything that stands up for long is damn near impossible. Well, the thing is, there is a way to sort of write it, to future-proof it to an extent, to rewrite it. But the thing is, I basically shelved that book after years because I wrote the thing and then I put it in a drawer and I didn't look at it again for like 6 months because it allows you to come back to it with sort of fresh eyes, and I did. And then I redrafted the book, and after the second draft, I let a few other people read it. Richard was one of them, and the people that did read it came back to me, my first readers came back to me and went, "That is absolutely amazing. Where have you been hiding this?" I was like, I just never got to write a book. But they were all very sort of, and I said, "Look, I want your honest opinion." And, they gave honest opinions because there were things about it that they said, they'd perhaps change. And so then I redrafted it again, and then I sent it out to publishers and agents. And I got a few of them get back to me and ask for the whole draft. But then I got one publishing house. They used to be a publishing house and now sort of works with authors to help improve their own work and help them find agents and stuff like that. And that was Cornerstones, and I sent it out to them, and they came back and they gave me a big long report about it, which was very nice. It was very flattering, and they said, "Well, this should happen at the end of the book, though." And I looked at it and kind of went, "Well, what?" If you've gotten, that is definitely not going to happen. What they wanted to happen at the end of the book definitely isn't going to. But if you thought that was supposed to, then that's my fault. I obviously wrote it incorrectly, so I went back and redrafted it again to correct the feeling that you might get from reading it, that the publishers got from reading it, that certain things were supposed to happen at the end. By the end of the story, and so I went and rewrote that, and then I tweaked it again a little bit more after. But then I just got so tired of seeing the damn thing. I got so sick of seeing the book that I just put it away. But it's been polished and tweaked and stuff like that. But it needs a rewrite of certain sections. The whole book doesn't need redrafting, but it needs a rewrite of certain sections to make it make sense in today's world. because, you know, the whole thing that kicks it off just wouldn't happen now. Not like I wrote it, anyway. So the point is that one of the ways I used to justify creating the gaming channel and doing what I started doing before I went off track and started making reviews and things, what I started doing was to do Let's Plays and create these little characters like Captain Cade, like I did. And I started down that track, and the idea was that I would write more stories with these characters, and once I had an audience, even a relatively small audience, that liked my writing and what I did with the characters enough, I would have an audience that would be willing to buy the book. That was the idea. That was the ultimate goal. That was just the ultimate goal of that was the long-term goal of the channel. That's where I was hoping to get to. You know, it wasn't about getting 100,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers. It wasn't about having an audience of thousands. That never really was what I was chasing. It never has been. It's what I wanted. Really, what I was hoping to do was a much smaller core, loyal audience that would watch it or read, you know, whatever it was that I created. That's what I was always aiming for on the channel. But I got off track when other things caused the channel to take off, and I started following it, you know, sort of that it became a real problem. And I'm now trying to quiet my mind a little bit, but, you know, I've been trying to do that all my life with no success. So, you know, just start prepping now, using your survival game experience. Cut the fingers off your wool gloves, get a trench coat, put boxes of ammo into random drawers. Leave notes in the toilets. Put milk in a toilet. Make sure all your toilets are full of cartons of milk and stuff. You good. Paint climbing spots yellow. Buy locked chests with food and bits of fibre and hide the keys. This feels like a recurring theme where you have something built to like 50% completion but are building other stuff too. Yes, Connor, that is accurate. It's basically accurate of my... I mean, the thing is that the book, the novel, was utterly complete. It was done. And I had 2 sequels to it lined up, but I've since drifted a little bit away from that idea, and the next book that I started writing was a different theme completely. But again, still comedy. But that one was a sci-fi comedy, and it was, you know, more sort of along the lines of Douglas Adams kind of thing. I was actually being on topic for once. HJ is playing Empire of Sin, apparently. You were being on topic once. Yeah. It definitely is a recurrent theme, but it's been my problem that that has been, other than my sleep, it's been my central problem my whole life. It's just I have too many things in my brain. Way too many things that I'm trying to do at one time, and trying to focus on one thing, or even trying to focus down on just 10 things is just, it melts my brain, and I can't keep it on track. So, you know, I've been putting videos out there to keep the channel ticking over, to keep bringing in just enough money that I can keep buying new games, or I can keep replacing equipment without having to disappear for 6 months on end and pour tons of time into, you know, reading audiobooks for next to nothing so that I can afford more equipment. And so that's always been a problem, and I'm trying to sort of put videos up there that, like with my Sniper Elite guides and stuff like that, because I found with the first set of guides that I made for Sniper Elite 5, that's kind of like my evergreen content. So that it's stuff that I can do that keeps the channel ticking over and alive. It keeps the fires burning while I'm doing other things. But the problem is, when the fires start to go out, I'm then scrambling to sort of make more content like that. And that, again, it just takes me back away from what I was doing before. And then, you know, I'm in this sort of trying to make stuff to get views territory, which is not what I set out to do at all. But the problem now is that I don't really make much money from anything else. And, you know, to rebuild my voiceover business is proving harder and harder and harder to do. Work is more and more scarce because the people that had, as like I did, as my bread and butter, just basically narrating videos and e-learning and corporate videos and that kind of corporate training videos and stuff like that, that has kind of gone now. And the people that were there have flooded into the other areas of voiceover work, trying to get voiceover there. And so that is even the area that's left is more competitive than it ever was before. And it's just crazy. So the problem is, you know, just trying to keep the boat afloat while I do all these other things. But even that is just difficult because my brain's just always going in a million different directions, and I'm trying to do too many things at once. I'm afraid I've got to head off. All night, Gegs. Thank you very much for joining us. Good to have you with us. I know there's a bit of a weird live stream this time. Hopefully, as soon as Matt's settled, we'll do Peak or something like that. We'll live stream that. Shadow dropped the second DLC after 4 years of dispute between Paradox and Romero Games. Paradox seem to have found a new dev for the game, so I'm hopeful the future of it now. Yes, 99 Gigs, good to have you with us, buddy. I shall be wrapping up shortly anyway, because my my voice is dying now. Another thing about not doing much voiceover work these days. Get any more trailers you like to watch? No, not really. You know, there's a couple in there, but I think we've pretty much. But I'm winding it up slowly now, just trying to think of other things that I kind of wanted to mention that are going on and stuff. But I think I've covered most things. But the other thing about not doing much voiceover work these days is I'm not I'm not using my voice as much as I used to. So when I talk for this length of time, it's just scratching my throat now, which, you know, I used to be better at dealing with that, but not so much now. It's a muscle like anything else, you know. You don't use it as often as you used to. It kind of dries up, loses its flexibility. You know, that and age gets to us all in the end. But yeah, it is still my goal to kind of, you know, because the long-term goal has got to be something beyond YouTube. You know, YouTube in and of itself cannot possibly be my end goal. There has to be something else there that I'm aiming towards, and it's, you know, my other writing is kind of the direction I'm still planning to go with it. But in order to make that relevant, I have to have the channel that focuses on just stories and characters that I create, because otherwise I'm just basically taking gamers and saying, here, also buy my book. And that doesn't really work. So, you know, you've got to get people that are there because they like your stories, then they like your humor, they like your writing, and they want to see what else you've got. So, you know, you give them the opportunity to do that. So, you know, we will see. But as for this channel, you know, at the moment, it'll carry on much as it has. But as I say, I made the jump ship video because I wanted to get that out following the demo, and I can normally expect a video like that to bring in, you know, by this time, a couple of thousand views easy, but it's barely in the hundreds. It's terrible. It's actually one of the worst performing videos I've ever made, and that type of video never performs that poorly. Now, there is one thing that has happened since the last video I made and this one. So between those 2 points, there is one thing I've changed, and that's the name of the channel. But I did my research on this, and I've done it before. Like, I've changed channel names before. I did my research on this, and changing the channel name, right, just within YouTube and putting up new banners shouldn't make any difference, right? Anywhere I research it, any of the big channels that have changed their names and YouTube themselves and all these things basically all say it shouldn't make any difference whatsoever. The only traffic it should ever affect are the people who only look at your videos by searching for your channel by name every single time they want to look at one of your videos, right? So that will affect discoverability. But even the URL, like they always say, like the old YouTube will tell you, the old URL will still work. If anyone has the URL for your channel anywhere, it'll still work. And of course, all the URLs for the videos themselves work. So the only traffic it should impact at all are the people that are only finding your channel and your videos by typing in your old channel name, right? So it shouldn't really affect subscribers at all. And it shouldn't really affect... The reason I can't understand why that would affect the channel traffic is because generally my subscriber count doesn't correlate with the number of views that I get. So you have to... And if I look at my analytics, you can see that most of my views come from recommendations. From YouTube basically recommending the video. So all I'm trying to work out is why not this one when it has all the other videos I've made that are the same. If you see what I mean. So I don't know why that should work. Is this the first of that type of video you've done since you had the unsub Steam? No. No. I made a Lost Skies one after. I made a bunch of Sniper Elite ones, and they weren't affected in any way at all. And I made the Lost Skies video after that, and that wasn't affected at all. That got... The Lost Skies video was consistent with about the number of views I would usually expect from a video of that type. But the Jump Ship one, no, not at all. It just died a death. I actually tried for the first time this time to do an A/B test on the thumbnails, but the problem is that the views are so low that you can't really A/B test with so few views. So, you know, I'm assuming maybe it's got something to do with me having changed the channel name, but I might be making that horrible scientific mistake of confusing correlation and causation. So just because they happen to have it at the same time doesn't necessarily mean that one thing caused the other. And all the research I've done in the last week about this, and before I changed the channel name, in fact, would lead me to believe that it shouldn't make any difference really whatsoever. I know you're not in the same realm or genre, but Squire are having the same issue with YouTube and views lately. Is YouTube not sending notifications for channels that subs haven't interacted with for a while? Maybe? I don't know. Read somewhere, I think it was an interview with Jared Leto, that he drinks a small amount of olive oil before gigs to keep his voice. No, that's nonsense. You don't want to do that. There are all sorts of ways of sort of lubricating your vocal cords and things like that, but the old ones are always the best. Honey and lemon, but honey in particular still works better than pretty much anything. Warm drinks, which particularly, of course, in summer, I don't drink as many warm drinks, which are, you know, they really sort of help your throat when you're talking for long periods of time. But colder drinks don't. They kind of shrink down your larynx, and you can't. It gets really, really scratchy much, much faster. Although they're soothing to drink when you've got a bit of a sore throat, they're not as good for it. But yeah, honey and lemon, you know, the old ones are the best. But yeah, I used to do, like, you know, straw phonation exercises and things like that. But that's the other thing, vocal exercises and warm-ups. When I'm not doing voiceover regularly, I just don't do them. And, you know, like I said, it's like anything else. You've got to exercise the muscle that you got to use. So there's a tea called Throat Coat that works well for me. Squire, I am not familiar with, HJ. What do they do? So yeah, that's where I'm kind of hoping to get to. But as far as the red shirts go, I kind of, you know, once we've established another name, I really do love those because I think just because of the comedy and the humor that comes out of us and the chemistry that we have with the four of us, I don't think I've ever had a group chemistry quite like it is with the four of us, where it really is incomplete with any one of us missing. Well, maybe not with me missing. Those three might say no, it's better without him here. I don't know, but generally speaking, from my perspective at least, it's just never complete without any one of them there, right? You know, each one of them brings their own kind of thing, and like when HJ, you know, I bang on about how much HJ winds up, but without him there, it's never the same. Even when we're not on stream or we're not recording or anything like that, if we're just playing, it's only when all four of us are there, something just clicks into place that and it just flows and everything just everything just gets more fun. So yeah, I love making videos with those guys, and I really kind of want to. But the problem is corralling them all together is kind of at the same time when I have time to play is kind of difficult. And you know, particularly with finding games that we can all play at the same time and that we all want to play at the same time, because I don't really like dragging people into games they don't want to. Sometimes you have to do that with Richard because the focus of games that he really likes to play for any length of time is quite narrow. But for the others, yeah. While dead weights may not be a totally accurate description, it does seem easier to say compared with some of the other choices. I think that's why I like that one. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I quite like dead weights. I think it works relatively well. They do live-action satirical videos heavily inspired by gaming history in a similar style to Monty Python. I see. You have to link me that. Send it me in the Red Shirts chat. I've never heard of them. But yeah, so that's, you know, I've given you a rough idea today of just a fraction of the things that are going through my brain at any one time. And it really is a fraction. You know, besides this channel, I have the Sleepless Night channel, the original Sleepless Night channel, which I haven't put anything on for longer than I can remember. I'm also trying to make YouTube shorts, but I'm going to try going ahead if I'm doing live shirts, live streams or Red Shirts videos and things like that, going from here on, to try and make shorts that lead into other videos to try and direct traffic a little bit more. But, you know, all the things, I have ideas constantly for a new thing that I can do on the channel, but all it does is just widen that scope and make me less visible on YouTube. Because the wider your scope of the things that you do, even if it's in the gaming, even if you consider gaming a niche, it's not small enough, not by a long way. So if you do lots and lots and lots of different things, YouTube doesn't really know what your channel is about. So it doesn't know who to recommend your channel to, if you see what I mean, right? It's so even though it knows it's about gaming, you know, not everybody loves the same kind of gaming videos. And if you've got the same kind of videos, not everybody likes the same people making those kind of videos or the format that they use to make the same kind of videos. So when you've got as wide a scope as I have of the kind of videos that I put on here, YouTube doesn't really know what your channel's about. So when it appears that I've now lost, I mean, it's only one video. Maybe I'm overreacting, I'm sure. But if it begins to look like I've lost the one staple kind of video that I could always depend on to keep bringing people back to the channel, that's a problem. But on the other hand, maybe it's not. Maybe that's what the channel needs. Maybe it needs to die. Maybe it needs for all these other little things I'm doing to die to help me narrow my focus. I don't know. But I doubt that'll help, to be honest. I've known myself all my life, funnily enough, and I kind of doubt that will help me narrow down my focus and quiet my brain, because it's just too busy in there all the time, and there's just a million things going on constantly, and my focus is split like 17 different ways in any half-hour period that I've got to sit down and do some work. My focus is split in 17 different ways. Sometimes I'll start off doing something and I'll need an asset from another folder or file, from another folder somewhere on the computer. And looking for that will then lead me down a rabbit hole of all sorts of other things. And I'll think, oh, that reminds me I was going to look this thing up. And then I look something up online, and that reminds me I was doing this thing the other day. Oh, that's a good thing. I'll just drop that in there. I was doing that for the red shirts the other day. I'll just do that. And so I was like, oh, actually, I never got back to doing that thing of the red shirts because I broke focus like I am now. And I kind of, at least Keepsake saw the video. Keepsake did see the video, yeah. Keepsake are the developers of Jumpship. Dwight, yeah. So yeah, at least Keepsake saw it and sort of liked it. And I actually got I got two emails from Keepsake. One from Morton, who is their community manager, and the other one from their CEO, Daniel Kaplan. Who I said to HJ the other day, I've been trying to work out, every time I've seen Daniel Kaplan, I've been trying to work out where I know him from. And I'm like, I know this guy. I have met him somewhere. And I worked it out. I told HJ I worked out where I'd met him the other week. I met him in Stockholm when he worked for Mojang, Minecraft developers. So yeah, I that's when I met him. There was a really weird story with that, because years and years ago, when I was trying to move to Stockholm, when Amki and I were first together, long before Nights Arcade was a thing. Years and years ago, I was trying to sort of find someone who would hire me for my writing, as it's one of the only things. Creative writing is one of the only things that I have any qualifications, if you can call them that, in. Right, because that's what I studied in college. I studied journalism, and I never went on to study journalism as the whole sort of course. I just stayed for the creative writing and English language bits and then dropped out. But that's what I went to college for. So I haven't had any notifications from theirs for a while myself. I had to physically look. Yeah, I think that's the problem as well, though. But it's because if you've got to physically look and you've changed the name of your channel, maybe. But the thing is, you shouldn't, like they say, it shouldn't really affect. I mean, we'll see. Like I said, maybe I'm drawing too many conclusions from one video. Maybe it's just bad luck, or maybe the title sort of put people off, or maybe the title wasn't in line with the sort of things I usually title those videos, and so YouTube went, well, that's not the kind of video you normally make. I don't know what happened. But maybe it was just a one-off. We'll see. But yeah, it's, if you listen to me talk tonight all night long. You've listened to me talk, and how long have I managed to keep a thread in my head? I'm struggling to do it even now as I'm saying these words without going on to a different topic, right? And that is just what my creative brain is doing all the time. The story I was telling you there, for example, about Mojang and Daniel Kaplan, was that I was basically putting out feelers on social media and everywhere for anyone who wanted any writing doing, And I got this response from someone on Twitter, right? And he said, we're writing a new game. So he reached out to me personally, and he said, we're making a new game at the moment. And I can't remember what it was called, and I never saw it materialize, so it obviously never appeared. But he said, we're writing a new game at the moment, and we're looking for people like you. Next time you're in Stockholm, bring your CV by the office. So I showed this to my flatmate at the time. I was living in his house, Farnsworth, a friend of mine in Richards. And I said, oh, look, I just got this from somebody. And he took my phone and he looked at it and he went, he said, that message is from Notch. And of course, I never played Minecraft, so I said, who's that? And so he went into his profile on my phone and he went, the creator of Minecraft just sent you that message. And I was like, holy shit. Well, of course, Minecraft I had heard of, but I didn't know Notch was at the time. I didn't know who Marcus Bashon was. But so he said, because when he said drop it by the office, I was like, what office? Who are you? And he said, "That's Notch." He said, "He just sent you a message telling him to drop your CV off at their office." I said, "Yeah, I don't even know who he was." But yeah, so I got a message from him. And so I went into Stockholm and I went into their office and dropped off. And the guy that came and met me and took that off me and everything was Daniel Kaplan. I put it together the other day. It's like, that's it. That's where I know him from. But yeah, he's now, the CEO of Keepsake Games, who are making Jump Ship. I think you need more information, SK. Basing all that on one video might not tell the story. I'm trying not to, but it's just that it's like in all the years I've been making those kind of videos, I can pretty much consistently say that every one of those videos will get at least this number of views. Some of them perform better than others. Some of them get tens of thousands of views. Some of them just get 3, 4, 5,000. Over time, and in the first week, maybe a couple of thousand, right? Some of them go on to get 30, 40, 50,000, some of them over 100,000. But I can always predict that they'll get at least this. There's like a baseline. But that one just died. Like nothing. It just didn't get seen by anybody, really. I said it didn't get seen by anybody. It's had like 370 odd views or something, but that is nothing compared to what I would normally expect. Nowhere near even the baseline level I can normally expect from videos like that. Not even close. It's that's a total failure for one of those videos. So yeah. If anything, that's a YouTube thing as opposed to a viewer thing. I would think so, but like I said, there are too many variables to take into consideration, and I'm not super great at analyzing. I'm not super great at sort of going into analytics, pages of analytics. I do use my analytics on YouTube, of course, as every creator does, but I'm not all that great at deriving useful information from pages of analytics. My wife is, because that's kind of what she does now. She's in marketing, so that's kind of what she does. But she just doesn't have the time for that. And as well as being the main breadwinner in the house, it seems like on top of all the work that she does for the company she works for, and the kids and everything like that, it's like just seems I cannot ask her to kind of look at that stuff, and I don't know when she'd have the time. So it just seems like that's a level of support too far on top of everything else she's already done. So but I cannot make sense of it. I'm not very good at deriving useful information from pages of analytics. Never have been. So sometimes I can glean some insights from it. More so that I think than anybody who's new to YouTube. Certainly, I've been looking at them for years, but not in the way that a lot of these kind of people making videos on YouTube telling you how to do this and that. Not in the way that they do. It doesn't make as much sense to me as it should, I guess. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to sit down with you guys and talk for a while and sort of go through some of the processes, because what I've told you today is a fraction of the stuff that I'm working on and trying to do at one time. Trying to focus my brain long enough even to tell you those things has been difficult. So trying to write this in a message that other people will read, like in the Discord or on Patreon or stuff like that, is almost impossible. It's just like it would be a novel in itself. But yeah, hopefully now you guys, who I consider to be my core community members, the dozen or so of you that are at the core of Knights Arcade that keep me doing this. Well, that's a step too far to say that keep me doing this, because it's a step too far to say that keep me making content, because the one thing I can say is that as long as there is an outlet like YouTube for content that I create, I will always make some. Always. And I know this. I've said this many times, I know it to you guys, but I know this because I've tried to stop making this sort of stuff, any kind of content online, many times. And I just can't. I just have to. If as long as there's an outlet for it, I make it and I put it out there. And even when there isn't an outlet for it, even before YouTube was a thing, I was making these things and just keeping on my computer or in my camera, or I was just making little videos and films and stuff like that. I can't. I was writing stories. I always tell the story of when I was working in security. And a woman from a shop right across the road, she used to come and sort of knock on the back door, which went outside. It was a big shopping centre in Swindon. And she used to come and knock on the door there, and she used to leave us like the sweets and a box of sweets for the whole security team and stuff that was going out of date that they couldn't put on the shelves anymore. And she would do this, and rather than just throw them out, she would bring us a little box of things. And in there was like these little things of chewing gum, right, which I don't really care for. But they had these little, they had collectible cards in. And these ones, in this particular instance that I can think of, were Star Wars collectibles. Because this was around about the time when the remastered versions of the original trilogy came out. So the late 90s, before the prequels. And so the remastered versions were out, and it was Star Wars was everywhere again. It was like 97, I think, around about there. Star Wars was everywhere again, and so these cards. And I just sat there when I was on night shifts. I just stuck them. I peeled off these things and I stuck them to just a piece of A4 paper, and I just wrote captions like linking one to the other. And I put them on the notice board in the shopping centre, the staff notice board in the back in the canteen. And I did it 2-3 times, and then a couple of the guys came to me like about 2 weeks after the last time I'd done it and said, "Hey, where's the latest installment?" And I said, "Of what?" Then he said, "Of the Star Wars story things you keep putting on the board." It was just a comic thing where I'd basically made sort of a comic book by using these and assigning a different character that had nothing to do with Star Wars to each one of the actual characters in the thing. And he came to me and said, "Everybody wants to know. They sent me in to ask when's the next one." And that's it. It doesn't matter what you give me, even packets of bubblegum, like I will create something with it. And I will create a story with it somehow. I just do that. I can't help it. And that's why I still want to do the channel, which is called Tales from the Arcade. It was actually called Night Tales, but now that I've changed the name, it'll just be Tales from the Arcade. And that's why I want that. I want to create a channel that focuses just on that. And the only difficulty, I love creating that content, but the difficulty I have is focusing just on that for a period of time. That's tough. With all the other stuff I want to do, it's much more labor intensive than the other stuff. Creating those sort of stories and focusing on just that for any period of time is really hard for me to do. But that's what I'm trying to do. Can't stop creating. I get that 100%. Yeah. How's the game development coming along, Aku? How's that going? I suppose you've looked at how the analytics work. I have looked at how the analytics work, but so the other problem with my very, very busy brain is I struggle to retain new information now. So learning new things, it's like my brain has just filled up with stuff. And I have learned so many new skills throughout the years. Like I've had lots and lots and lots of different jobs in different areas, right? And whenever I've been creating stuff, I always say to people, when I used to make short films, right? And people were like, "Why does this take so long?" And I said, "Right. So I said, the next time you watch a film, I know this is an exaggeration of what I do, but the next time you watch a movie, sit through the credits at the end, right? And just watch them all rolling by, right? You'll be sat there for 5, 6, 7 minutes with some of the big blockbuster movies, right? All those jobs, I have to learn how to do them all. And that's the problem with creating by yourself. You have to learn how to do all these things. And as I said right at the beginning of this, technology is changing all the time. And so not only am I trying to focus on all these different things, but I'm trying to keep up with new technology that's coming out to allow me to create even the things that I'm already creating, like doing live streams, right? Technology changes all the time, new platforms come along, and people start putting out live streams and videos in a different way, which I've then got to learn. And on top of everything else, I can't keep it in my head. And one thing I've never, ever been any good with, ever, is numbers. That's always been my downfall. I just can't. I can't focus on numbers at all. I just can't do it. So, yeah. Really got good, actually. Get the settings menu working today, starting to feel like a real game. I can't wait to see it, buddy, honestly. You're going to show it us all, right? You bring it into the Discord, you show me, send me a link, and we'll check it out. But I'm excited. I know how hard you work on these things, but and you're unlike me. You're always quietly doing it in the background. You're not shouting about it all the time like I do. So yeah, I'm excited to see it, buddy. And that goes for the same for any of you, by the way, who are regulars in my Discord and stuff like that. If you've got something you've created that you want to share it. I want to see it. I want to hear it. I want to read it. Bring it in. That's what I like, connecting with other people who create stuff, is because that's, I think I like people like that get it more than anything else. You can't, if you have that sort of a creative mind, you can't stop doing it. And the problem is that I always thought, the irony of the whole AI thing, of course, I'm sure is not lost on many people. The irony is that when I was growing up and they talked about machines taking over the world and stuff like that, machines are taking our jobs, right? It was people in factories, right? And creative people, painters, sculptors, musicians, comedians, all these kind of people, were quite sat up there on their high horse saying, well, a machine will never be able to paint you a picture or, do all of these things, right? Or write you a song right? And so we always thought, well, our jobs are safe. And what actually happened is that ours were the first jobs they came for. They were the first jobs. The first thing that AI came for was us. Gone. Just took away. The only consolation I find from the preponderance of AI everywhere at the moment is that it has now, that sort of mad cow syndrome has now started happening, right? Whereas the AI has now created more paintings and songs and short stories and things like that. It's now created more content than all of humans have created in all of human history already. Right, so the problem is it's now feeding on itself. So it's creating this grey, nonsensical, all sounds the same, all looks the same kind of stuff. And it's slowly getting to that point. So that's the sort of the only consolation I find in it, is that eventually someone gave a great analogy of it, which is eventually it'll be the difference between going to IKEA and getting all your furniture there, right? And then getting a handcrafted rocking chair or something like that. That's what it'll be. And I just hope we kind of get there eventually. Can't start creating. Really good, actually. Got the settings menu. It's starting to feel... irony can be pretty ironic sometimes. Yeah, it can. I'll share more stuff, hopefully soonish. Excellent. Yes, please do. Absolutely. Electricity, computing, networking, of course, so many people to lose jobs. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that. AI can be inspired, but it can't replicate original thought yet. Well, I mean, I guess one of the things I guess I do most often is comedy. I have my own particular brand of humor, and what Amki said to me recently was that, firstly, the one thing AI can't seem to do yet is comedy. And the other thing that she said to me is, but a lot of the tools that it's giving you is giving you the opportunity to make a lot of the sketches and things like that, the short sketches and things that you only ever had in your brain but couldn't really make, but now by yourself at least, and now you have the tools to do that, which, maybe is true. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. But you know, but that's why I was really, really pleased to have used it in a way that I thought that I felt comfortable with when I created the Red Shirts theme, because I wrote that. You know, I composed it. I came up with that tune while I was going, like a couple of weeks ago, I was driving into Retford and like it was going around in my brain. Suddenly it was like picking out little, and then I got back. And as soon as I got home, I'd like dug out the keyboard and I was picking at it like that and trying to get all this stuff written down and adjusting the timing. So to then use it to perform what I'd written was just, that was a tremendous feeling. That was great. That was just fantastic. I love that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I think that I've droned on and bored you all for long enough. You now have a slightly, I guess, maybe clearer picture of why the channel and my content and my brain are so messy and littered with crap. And the fact that I am constantly trying to filter through it. But this is why I also like sharing things with you, like the Red Shirts theme and stuff like that. And it's like, look, I'm the, you know, what the book and stuff like that. I am working on stuff all the time. The problem is it's scattered because I have so many interests and so many things I want to make. And for all the stories I want to create, right, for all, particularly if I'm putting them on YouTube, so particularly if they're in film format or machinima at least, you know, gaming stories and stuff like that, for all of those things, I have to learn to do dozens and dozens of different things. And I'm slowly having a harder and harder time. I know this makes me sound super old, but I am now slowly having a harder time retaining new information now. I don't mean, oh, you know, early onset dementia. That's not what I mean. I just mean I'm finding it harder. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? I'm finding it harder and harder and harder to learn new tricks. I can't retain things that I learn from books and online anymore. I'm struggling to. It's too busy in there. I can't focus for very long. So I'm slowly kind of getting left behind a bit now. So I kind of need to really try harder and harder all the time to focus. But the reason I wanted to share all of this is because it must seem from an outsider's perspective as though it's just scattergun, sort of like I don't have any kind of plan. And I absolutely do have a plan. But I'm always making different things. So sticking to that plan and focusing on just those things instead of all these other things that I want to make is a day-to-day struggle for me. I'm always making something. I'm always creating. Every single day I am making something. But you guys don't get to see a lot of it very often because I'm always making 15 things every hour. So it takes months, years to make any of them. And sometimes I just never finish them. So yeah, it just, you know. Putting your thoughts in Discord probably helps. It probably does. It does help me sometimes. But what I noticed is that the more often I went on a long rant in Discord, the quieter Discord got. Which is why one of the other reasons I made this is because the more often I seem to share exactly what's going through my brain in Discord, the quieter it gets in there. The fewer people interact. The fewer people talk. And it's just like, oh dear, have I scared all these other people off? Like I tend to scare people off in general. You know, people are like, why don't you talk more? And then I talk. And then they go, shh, because I just talk too much and I overshare. And the problem is, I even got this sense in Spiff's stream last night because I seemed to be the only one talking. So there's loads of people in there, but I seem to be the only one. So I was chatting. And eventually it seemed like people were trying to talk around me and just ignore me because I was talking too much. Because that's just what I do. But, you know, my brain is just, it's on fire and it's lit up the whole damn time. So it's really hard for me to focus on one thing. So this This is helpful every now and again to just vent. Aku, yes, Aku can feel that. I enjoyed just hanging out and chatting and getting XP for it. That was new. I don't think it's you scaring people off. I think it might be we're asking questions and you answer everything all at once. Maybe, yeah. Maybe not as much need for us to follow up. Yeah, no, I think I'm guilty of that as well, but I think it's generally with me, I've noticed through the years, in people that I know in real life, it's generally the talking too much and oversharing. And talking about, if you just think how long it's taken me to tell you a fraction of the things that are going through my brain and that I'm interested in talking to people about, the other thing is it sucks all the air out of the room, right? My brain is that busy. 3 hours have passed before I know where I am. My throat is sore. It sucks all the air out of the room. It doesn't leave much room for anybody else. And it's so people tend to find that off-putting. I've just gotten used to it over the years. I used to try to change that. I used to try to change who I was. And for a long time, I tried. Like, I always tell the same story because my mother, was always one of those, just be yourself. Because when I was a teenager, I was always trying to be somebody other than that. And then she said, just be yourself, right? Which is good advice, I think. I still maintain that's good advice. That is the advice I follow now. But when I was a kid, it's not so easy because you're trying to work out why people don't want to be friends with you and stuff like that, why, right? So we're all going through that through our teenage years. But as a kid, she was just be yourself. And then she slowly, as she got a bit older, and she's sort of not talking to small children anymore, she would say, well, but don't talk so much, and don't, maybe keep some of that stuff to yourself. And I would say, well, wait a second, what, be myself or shut up? Which is it? Because those things, those things are like oil and water. I can't, one of them is me, the other is the opposite of me. I can't do both. So which is it? Be myself or shut up? So yeah, I ended up with quite mixed signals regarding that. So in the end, it was Amki actually, meeting Amki in the end, that made me realize that I can't change this. I've tried many times to not be this person, and I can't change it. I tried for a long time, and the thing is that trying to change who I was made me unhappy. It made me an unhappy person, and a person that people still thought was weird, because I'd then stand in the corner kind of going, right? So, and I would kind of come out with stuff in short bursts and then realize I was talking again and I'd shut up. And people would find that kind of strange and off-putting. So in the end, I just kind of lent into it. And now, the poor guys know, HJ, poor old HJ and Matt and Richard. Richard's put up with this for a long time. He used to live with me, for God's sake, for years. So, they know now. I feel a bit sorry for them a lot of the time, but they know it's like, look, this is who I am. If you don't like that, that's okay. That's cool. I get it. I even get it. I understand completely. I don't not only do I not blame you for it, I get it. If you find it annoying or off-putting, but it's just who I am. I can't change it now. I've tried, and I'm much happier since I stopped trying to change who I was. So yeah. Sorry about that. That's me oversharing again. See. Great idea for a supervillain. He literally sucks up all the air. Thinking and speaking is hard. Thoughts go everywhere all at once. I know, right? It's trying to... Honestly, it is. That's a really good analogy. It's like trying to hold on. It's like trying to hold on to it's like trying to hold on to 1,000 marbles with your hands. Right? And it's like you're always dropping them. They're all over the place. And it's like... I just can't... That's what it's like being in here. Just figure out a way for us to get XP for chatting in Discord. I think there probably is something like that. If you got the paid version of Discord. If I had the paid version of Discord, there probably is something like that. I don't know. I know they keep reducing. It's like the videos I keep sharing in there. I'm trying to share little snippets of videos because, it's like the YouTube Shorts, but I'm trying to occasionally... I want to share a little snippet of something that I don't want to make a short out of, or is that part of a bigger video that you guys haven't seen. But the file sizes video file sizes in Discord are incredibly small. It's like 10 megabytes. And once you reduce even a video of 20 seconds that's been captured at even like 1080p, once you reduce that to a file size of less than 10 megabytes, it's shit. So it's really, really hard to do that. I'm kidding. Please don't. No, it's okay. I wasn't actually. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. I see what you're doing there. Don't worry about it. I'm not going off on one. I'm not going to go away and try to do that now. I think I'm going to go and just chill out for a bit. And I'm probably HJ is playing Peak. I might play Peak with HJ. I don't know. He might be playing it with somebody else. I don't know. So I probably can't. But maybe. Or I might go into Peak and see if I can conquer it again. But on your own, that's difficult. Very, very funny to play with other people. But as I said, HJ is he's not a cooperative player. He just wants to win, even when the object of a game is to cooperate. At least when it's playing with us, he's not a team player. Not with anyone else. No, see, there you go. Oh, you're not playing it with anyone else, right? Okay, I see. Well, I might join you in a bit then on Peak. Discord Battle Pass. Okay, folks. Anyway, I am going to go. Thank you. And I mean this, sincerely. I cannot thank you enough. The regular viewers, all of you that are here all the time and that stick with me no matter what it is that I do, and that will actually listen to me ramble on until my throat is literally sore. You people are like, you make this kind of thing. Without you guys, I would still make content and I would still make videos. I would still create stories. What I would not do without you guys is I wouldn't live stream. Never. I just wouldn't bother with it. But I do that so that I can have this little regular back and forth with a well, I guess it's mostly forth. There's not much back. I know that's not my fault, but it's so that I can have that connection with the core community, you guys that I consider to be the solid gold core of the arcade, right? And that's why I live stream. I would still make all the other stuff without that, but I wouldn't live stream anymore without that. And it's always great. Thank you very much for joining me. Really, genuinely, huge thanks for just listening to me rant. I was really, really nervous about doing this today, but you guys have made it all worthwhile again. Hit the like button if you haven't and you like this stream. Thank you very much for joining me. But until next time, from the arcade, I still want to say Night's Arcade, but I'm not going to. Sleepless Night, saying nighty-night.